Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll call to order the City of Kenai Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for April 27th, 2022. Will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item A2, roll call, please.
Chair Tweet,
Here.
Vice Chair Dothett,
Here.
Commissioner Woodard,
Here.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Fikes,
Here.
Commissioner Halstead,
Here.
and Commissioner Askin is absent, so you have a quorum.
All right, item A3, agenda approval. Commissioner Halstead.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second. Any objections? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Item A4, consent agenda. Commissioner Halstead.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
And second.
Second.
Any objections? Seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Item C, scheduled public comment. We have none. Item D is unscheduled public comment. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to an item that isn't set for a public hearing tonight? Good out there? Okay, seeing none, we will move on then. Item E, consideration of plats. We have none. Item F is our public hearing. We have one tonight. F1 is Resolution PZ 2022-10, an application for a conditional use permit for cabin rentals for the property described as Lot 11, Block 1, Central Heights Subdivision, First Edition, located at 321 Portlock Street, Kenai. Application submitted by Richard Main, 207 Walker Lane. Can I get a motion, please? Vice Chair Dothett.
Get a motion for approval of Resolution PZ 2022-10, application for conditional use permit for rental cabins for the property described on a Lot 11, Block 1, Central Heights Subdivision.
And a second.
Second.
All right, staff report.
Thank you, Chair Twait and fellow commissioners. Staff's presentation is on Resolution PZ 2022-10. It's a conditional use permit for cabin rentals at 321 Portlock Street. The applicant is Richard Main. The address is 321 Portlock Street, and we can see the aerial map here that shows the subject property. It's approximately quarter acre in size. Its existing zoning is suburban residential. The current land use is a residential dwelling, and the land use plan is designated suburban residential. Cabin rentals are listed as a conditional use within the suburban residential zone in Kenai Municipal Code 142210. KMC 142320 definitions of cabin rentals means the renting out of one or more individual detached dwelling units or buildings to provide overnight sleeping accommodations for a period of less than 30 consecutive days. The proposed B&B is actually a cabin rental that some folks might have noticed with the application submitted was actually a B&B application. It is indeed for a cabin rental. That is, it's a 2-bedroom, 2 baths with a single car garage on a quarter acre lot in the Central Heights subdivision. Site plan identifies the layout of the existing home, the driveway, parking, and lot. Staff's analysis, Kenai Municipal Code 142150E, review criteria for conditional use permits. Pursuant to KMC 142150A, the intent of a conditional use permit is to allow some uses that may be compatible with the designated principal uses in specific zoning districts, provided certain conditions are met. KMC 142150E, conditional use permits review criteria, states 6 conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission must deem to exist when establishing findings prior to issuing a conditional use permit. We're going to go over those 6 review criteria now. Criteria 1, the use is consistent with the purpose of this chapter and the purposes and intent of the zoning district. Staff's response is the proposed cabin rentals, in this case the single-family dwelling, meets the intent of the suburban residential zone to provide for medium-density residential development in areas which will be provided with common utility systems. The specific intent in establishing this zone is, 1, to separate residential structures to an extent which will allow for adequate light, air, and privacy, and 2, to prohibit uses which would A, violate the residential character of the neighborhood, and B, generate heavy traffic in predominantly residential areas. The existing home is consistent with the intent of this district by preserving a medium-density residential neighborhood with a site design that provides light, air, and privacy between neighboring parcels via the existing lot setbacks, trees on the property, a grass lawn, and backyard fencing. In this, as noted earlier, this quarter-acre lot in suburban residential is very similar to surrounding properties in the neighborhood. While cabin rentals generate consistent vehicle trips, it would likely not generate heavy traffic. Those persons renting the house would generate approximately as many trips as a year-round residents on the property. KMC 1422 land use table permits single dwelling house on the suburban residential property. Criteria 2, the economic and non-economic value of the adjoining property and neighborhood will not be significantly impaired. Staff's response is the parcel located to the north is a single-family home, to the east is a single-family home, to the south is a commercial business, and the west is a single-family home. Portlock Street consists of suburban residential zone parcels with primarily single-family residences. The subject property, a single-family home, fits in with the character of the neighborhood by the land use, lot size, lot orientation, and natural character of the property. Both the economic and non-economic value of adjacent property should not be significantly impacted by the use of cabin rentals. All improvements on the subject property are existing. Criteria 3, the proposed use is in harmony with the comprehensive plan. Staff's response is the land use plan from the 2016 comprehensive plan proposes a suburban residential land use for this neighborhood. The suburban residential land use classification is defined in the comprehensive plan. Suburban residential is intended for single-family and multi-family residential uses that are urban or suburban in character. The area will typically be developed at a higher density. Lots are typically smaller, and public water and sewer services are required or planned. Some developments may be required to construct streets to a paved standard, and larger subdivisions may be required to provide sidewalks and public areas. Parks and open space land uses may be considered appropriate. The subject parcel has similar land use, lot size, and orientation as the surrounding properties. It also has connections to city water and wastewater, and it is a medium density as the neighboring properties, in that Portlock Street is paved with no sidewalks. The comprehensive plan has goals to support businesses and economic development and to provide a high quality of life within the city. Below are specific goals and objectives from the comprehensive plan that support this application. Goal 1 of the comprehensive plan is to promote and encourage quality of life in Kenai. And Q4, promote the siting and design of land uses that are in harmony and scale with the surrounding uses. And Goal 2, the comprehensive plan is to provide economic development to support the fiscal health of Kenai. Economic Development 9, to capitalize on the tourism industry by marketing Kenai as a destination for recreational activities, conventions, festivals, arts, cultural, and other events. Criteria 4, public services and facilities are adequate to serve the proposed use. Staff's response is the subject property is accessed via Portlock Street, a paved city-maintained road. City water and sewer is located adjacent to the subject property along Portlock Street. The property has access to electricity, gas, and telephone services. Criteria number 5, the proposed use will not be harmful to the public safety, health, or welfare. Staff's response is the use of a cabin rental will not be harmful to public safety, health, or welfare. Staff believes that services are available to adequately serve this use. There are recommended conditions with requirements related to public safety, health, and welfare. And those are 2, prior to starting any business operations, a landscape site plan must be reviewed and approved by the planning director. This condition ensures site plan and landscaping requirements are met, including for vehicle parking. And condition 9, quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This condition would help ensure the welfare of neighbors are protected from noise. And then criteria 6, specific conditions deemed necessary, and staff's response is see conditions of approval as set forth below. I'm going to go through and read all 9 conditions for this recommended resolution. City staff find that the applicant meets the criteria for issuance of a conditional use permit as set forth in subsections E1 through E6 of Kenai Municipal Code 142150, and hereby recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve the conditional use permit application subject to the following conditions. Condition 1, further development of the property shall conform to all federal, state of Alaska, and local regulations. Condition 2, prior to starting any business operations, a landscape site plan must be reviewed and approved by the planning director. Condition 3, prior to beginning any construction or renovations, a building permit must be issued by the building official for the City of Kenai. Condition 4, a yearly conditional use permit report must be submitted to the City of Kenai prior to the 31st day of December of each year. Condition 5, the applicant will meet with city staff for on-site inspections when requested. Condition 6, if there is a change of use for the above described property, a new conditional use permit must be obtained pursuant to 142150 I-5. Condition 7, pursuant to KMC 142150 I-2, this permit shall expire automatically upon termination or interruption of the use for a period of at least 1 year. Condition 8, failure to provide documentation to the city for meeting these conditions shall be grounds for the suspension or revocation of the conditional use permit. And Condition 9, quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll allow the applicant to come up and maybe address in general that wasn't handled by Planning Director Foster, and probably we'll have some questions for you. So if you'd like to come up, state your name and address for the record, and we'll give you an opportunity here.
All right, my name is Rick Main. I live at 207 Walker Lane. Been there for 37 years. The house that we're talking about is investment, retirement investment for me. The intent was for it to be a rental, and we thought we would try this nightly rental business and see how that goes for us. You know, it's not something that we're locked in stone on. It's something we want to try. We don't really know how it's going to work out for us, you know. But this is the first process, is getting the conditional use permit to move forward.
All right, we'll see if anyone has any questions for you. Vice Chair Dothett.
How long have you guys been have you owned this property for a while, or is this just a new acquisition?
It's a new acquisition. We bought it in February.
Okay. And as far as operating the business, is this going to be like something managed through a management company, or are you guys planning on being the managers of it?
No, we'll be the managers of it, and I think that's kind of the difference between us and maybe other bed and breakfast operations. We are local. So we're here to deal with any problems that come up. Definitely a local, hands-on management.
And you're residing still just on Walker Lane, which is just about a half mile from there or less, probably from this residence, correct? A couple blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Woodard.
You said bed and breakfast, so are you actually serving breakfast?
No,
Okay, so it is just a rental.
it is a rental, a nightly rental. The whole idea, or the terminology, I guess, is kind of thrown some of the people in the neighborhood. We all recognize what bed and breakfast is, but cabin rentals was, on the sign that's posted in the yard was a little confusing for some people. But the intent is for it to be Less than 30-day rental.
Commissioner Fikes.
And what is the intent of the duration for your rental? Is it from the summer season? Is it through the winter season?
Well, it'll be year-round. That's kind of what we don't know. We don't know what the demand will be in the wintertime.
Have you started any bookings yet?
No, we haven't.
And how, are you going to go through an agency for your bookings or just handle that yourself?
It'll be marketed through VRBO and Airbnb.
Okay. And I assume you've got all the licensure and insurance requirements met?
Yes.
Anyone else? Commissioner Greenberg.
You mentioned you had a sign. Is that on your lawn or something?
Just the notification, the notice of the public meeting.
Oh, okay, so there's not like a sign that says, okay.
Anyone else? Commissioner Woodard.
Do you have a limit to the number of people that can stay in there? There's only 2 bedrooms, I think it said.
Yeah, 2 bedrooms. We haven't really talked much about what the maximum would be in the house, but there is only 2 bedrooms, and there's 3 beds, so that will dictate the maximum number of people in the house.
All right. Anyone else? All right, so we'll let the rest of the public speak, and if there's any questions. Oh, well, hang on, hold on. Yep. We'll do just him for right now, and then we'll still open it up for public testimony, so you certainly can come forward. But what I was going to say is we'll go ahead and let you sit back down, and then we'll let the rest of the public that wants to testify, and then if there's any clarifying or anything we need to do, then we'll let you come back up, either one of you. So at this time, we'll open it up for any other public testimony. And if you can please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Direct everything to us, and we'll take care of it from there. I don't want to get into a lot of side conversations in the background or turn around speaking to other people. So with that being said, anyone that would like to come forward and testify, please raise your hand and come forward. Come on up.
Hi, my name's Karen Monell. I live at 323 Portlock Street. So my property adjoins theirs, but it's a townhouse, so I'm not the direct neighbor on that line, just for qualification. I think we as a neighborhood are not so concerned about whether or not they're going to serve breakfast as we are concerned about the reputation of Airbnb around this entire country, including Alaska, for bringing in people that you really would not want to have living next door to you, places that are they bring in noise, they bring in crime, they bring in trespassing. They do change the dynamics of your neighborhood depending on who they're coming in with. It's a concern. Everything we read would indicate to us that this is a problem, including, I might add, the minutes to your April 13th meeting, which pretty well delineates all the problems that I just mentioned: problems with traffic, noise, trespass, changes in neighborhood dynamics, worsening conditions for residents, loss of public confidence in the entire CUP process, and loss of responsiveness from the Board of Directors, Planning and Zoning, as well as the Police Department. It seems to be an alarming consistency between what we're seeing here and what we're seeing countrywide. And we really don't want to open up our neighborhood to something like that until we know a whole lot more about what's going on. We're very concerned that the people that will be coming in to stay there are going to be basically the folks that come up for dip netting and that type of thing. Kenai is not really a great big tourist zone. You either know somebody here or you're going fishing. That means parties, drinking. We live in a neighborhood that are mainly young families, lots of young children, a lot of older folks. We need a quiet neighborhood. We're a neighborhood that has been struggling for years because of rentals in the neighborhood, and I'll go into that. in a moment. It's just not something we're particularly comfortable with. And we don't feel like, after reading the minutes to your April 13th meeting, that the folks that you approved B&Bs in their neighborhoods prior were getting any type of response that they were finding to be helpful, which is why that was pretty much an entire complaint meeting. And I had the feeling that none of those folks really walked out of there feeling satisfied that their situations were gonna be secure. I have questions about privacy. You're going to abut the direct line of a young lady who's my neighbor and shares the townhouse with me. She has 2 young boys. Their play area is within like 6-7 feet of their deck. So any parties that are going on they're gonna be.
That's your 3 minutes.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
so I'll let you finish your thought, though, and then maybe somebody else can pick it up, but
Okay, well, let me just say one more thing, and then I won't wander through. The other, because I mentioned rentals in the neighborhood, so let me complete that particular thought.
okay, I'll give you that.
I drove through the neighborhood the other day. I started where the rentals started. I drove exactly 2/10 of a mile. There were like 10 rentals. These people monopolize our street. The landlords, frankly, with the exception of Cheryl and Rick, are not necessarily all that much fun to have as landlords. They do not bring nice people into the neighborhood. They are not accessible. They do not solve problems. In fact, they cause problems. We cannot survive, we don't believe, as a neighborhood if there are more people renting than are owners. It's like we have nothing to say about anything. We have nothing but noise and disruption and all sorts of craziness. So we are very concerned about our neighborhood. We're very concerned about our safety. We're very concerned about who's going to be taking a look at these people that are going to be coming in. Because there's no background checks, there's nothing.
Okay, and I'll see if anyone has any questions for you. Good? Yeah. All right, well, I have one, just, so you mentioned the rentals, and I was curious, and maybe you wouldn't know the answer to this, but do you know if there's any other short-term rentals, like what they're applying for, or are these just people that are bought a property just to rent?
Pretty much a standard rental. There's not people that would come to you for a cup
Okay,
type of thing.
Sure.
But they are all people that do not have an interest in our neighborhood as a community. They're outsiders. They fix up their properties in their neighborhoods, but they are letting our neighborhood go to heck and beyond.
okay, all right, thank you. Oh, Vice Chair Dothett.
So without the short-term rental, it sounds like either way, this property was intended to be a rental, and you mentioned that you were okay with it being a rental, I gathered, if it was for the Mains managing it because of the way they are involved in the property. Is that what I was gathering from that?
Well, I guess I should split that a little bit. My experience with, because they own the property on the other side of me also, is that when I've had an issue with the property that is directly abutting me, I've had easy access to Cheryl. I've had constructive conversations, and she's been very helpful in getting me through the issues that I had. So I have actually no personally problems with what goes on with these folks. But we have reached, in my point of view, a level of saturation where we no longer control our own neighborhood because of other than these two, the type of landlords that we are experiencing.
Anyone else? Commissioner Woodard.
So if you were to ask them for a particular rule for renters, what would it be?
For Airbnbs or for?
For if somebody was renting, say we pass this and they do have renters, what would be your biggest request for them to ask of their patrons?
We would want background checks. We would want to know who they are. We have young children in the neighborhood that we do not want exposed to the kind of people that everything we read tells us are going to come to us if we go with the Airbnb. That probably didn't make sense. I see the look of question on your mind.
I've rented a lot of places and I've never had a background check on me before.
And I've never rented, so I can't say that I have any firsthand
I
knowledge.
mean, I've
but I
rented
know a lot
for
of folks that
vacation
said to me,
rentals.
This is, if you're gonna have a lot of children around and such as that, you better be able to get background checks. People are gonna come and spend a short time with us. They're probably gonna be drinking. They're gonna be having their parties. They're gonna be having a grand old time. And we don't know who they are. And, you know, when somebody moves into your neighborhood, you kind of get to know them and you might develop a feeling of relaxation with them. But to have people coming and going all the time with no knowledge of who they are, what we can expect of them. And I can tell you the folks that have rented within our neighborhood are very destructive. Very, very destructive. They pretty much destroy the units that they're in. It's nothing but one problem after another, which maybe is unfair to them because I'm talking about a general situation where we've basically, for the last 10 years, we've been fighting for our existence between the drug houses, the crime, just the noise, the yelling, the first person who moved in next to me was a meth addict. The second person who moved in next to me was a heroin addict. The third person who moved in next to me was a woman who kept getting herself, having the crap beat out of her. It has been one nasty, nasty experience. And so I get a little nervous about you telling me you're just going to have this steady stream of people come wandering in and out. It's a concern. And I don't want to be mean about it, but it's a concern. And I think it's a real concern.
Commissioner Fikes, go ahead.
So I hear your concern, certainly for the neighborhood and everything. You guys are awful close to the hotel nearby too, aren't you? The Aspen Hotel?
No, that's not that close to us.
Not though?
I mean, look, that's down by McDonald's. We're up on the bluff at the end of.
More towards the bluff? Okay. And so Rick and Cheryl are going to be a little further up, so they're actually going to be right in your neighborhood. They would be experiencing the same angst and grief if it's generated.
No, quiet.
They live on Walker.
Get a chance to talk, but we got to keep this thing
Okay,
on the straight and narrow. Thank you.
straight and narrow.
So if you're on Portlock and they're on the adjoining street on Walker, they're at least, I heard them testify, at least 2 blocks away, and it sounded like if there was any kind of angst or grief, they would be within arm's reach. And you testified that you had had rapport with them before with resolving issues. So as opposed to an absentee landlord, it would sound like that would be a compromise for a successful operation, I would think. Is that possible, or?
From the landlords on the street, I would say they would be the only ones who would stand a chance. Because the rest have been basically pointlessly useless and more of a problem than a help. I mean, personally, it's not a direction I want to see us go in. I hear a lot of bad things about Airbnb. As I said, countrywide. There's no good news for neighborhoods when Airbnb goes in. And that's just a fact. And you've read it, you Google, you're on the Planning and Zoning Commission, you know this. This is not a surprise, I'm not saying something you don't know. I can't foresee the future, I don't know what the whole thing would look like, but I'm concerned also with the fact that if it doesn't work, what is our remedy?
If they get enough complaints and if it doesn't work, it's my understanding if they go through a booking agency, the agency is going to drop them and not renew their contract with them for bookings. And then with the city, again, if you get enough complaints, you're not going to get your cup renewed. And that has happened in the past.
And we'll address that a little bit here when we're done with the public hearing. Probably we'll clarify a little bit of that process too. So.
Yeah, we're going to know, because we're going to be watching.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing I'll say in when I'm trying to look at this, and I've certainly made no opinion one way or the other yet, but having a conditional use permit and having some sideboards and some guardrails up is probably better than what it sounds like is going on with some of the other long-term rentals in there. But like I said, we'll have a discussion regarding that, and I appreciate your testimony. We're going to move on to somebody else. Anyone that wants to testify, please raise your hand. And if I can, before you start, just, like I said, it's just easier for them to be able to pick up everything if we can talk when we're up here at the microphone, so appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angela Nicely. I live at 324 Portlock. And I live directly across from Rick and Cheryl's other rental. And like Karen had said, we don't have any problem with the mains at all. Our concern is these fly-by-nights that are going to be coming in and out. Strangers to us, strangers in our neighborhood. I have a granddaughter, and I worry about her. We just got rid of one of the biggest drug houses in Kenai. Our neighborhood got together, Cheryl included, and got rid of this house. And so we're trying to move forward, and we really feel like this is a setback because it's going to bring in more traffic, strangers, partiers. We just don't see where it would be a good thing. Now, I had a conversation with Rick at one point, and he informed me, because I asked him about the sign out in the yard, and he had informed me that he was going to be close or, but on vacation. They take their vacations. They're gone all winter long. They've been doing this for years. I've been on Portlock Street for 35 years. I've known of them for all those years. So that would be my concern, is when we do have problems, there's nobody to get a hold of to come and take care of it. If there's problems, I know there's going to be good people who come and rent from them as well. It's not all, bad that's going to come about from this, but we can't handle in our neighborhood any more of the riffraff. We just can't. It's too much. It stresses us out, the noise, the thumping music. I'm getting emotional. I can't take it anymore. I'm at my wit's end with it. Fighting with our neighbors over noise and drugs, and we feel, some of my neighbors, we're getting up there now in years, I hate to admit that, but we are. And some of my neighbors are afraid of some of the people that come through here. We don't need any more strangers. We just don't need something like this. If they want to rent, regular renter, do background checks, I don't think that would be a problem. But it's just, we're leery. The whole neighborhood is leery of. And what I don't understand is that we've got 4 hotels within a half-a-mile radius. What do we need an Airbnb in the middle of our neighborhood for? Really? And if we let this one go, who's to say that the other 3 properties that they own on Portlock Street doesn't turn into the same thing? We did have one other Airbnb that was going in next to Ashley. She had a talk with them. They're renting. They've got a year contract with some people now. They decided not to do it. Listen to our concerns. The privacy. There's no privacy between her duplex and the house on the other side. I've got pictures if you'd like to see them. Alice, she lives on the side adjacent to Rick and Cheryl's property. Their kids' trampoline is right there against the fence. Their swing set is right here. And right here. There's no privacy. It's a chain link fence. There's children there.
I'm going to cut you off there and see if anyone has any questions for you. Commissioner Fikes.
So you brought up your concerns about the neighborhood. Out of curiosity, has anybody ever formed a neighborhood watch or anything?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Cheryl knows about that, too.
Well, I'm one of the ones that formed it.
Okay. And is it still active or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ashley, is it?
Okay.
Ashley's my
Yeah.
assistant.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Let's just keep it up here.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, and that's how we were able to get, it took us a while to get that drug house out of there.
Too long.
Out of curiosity, was that somewhere along Sterling Court?
313.
Okay.
313.
Everyone, I want one person talking only. If you need to give that information later, great, but we want to be able to keep it up here. Thank you.
We went to the police, and we went online and got our rights, and we do have rights as homeowners. A lot of people think we don't, but we do. And we found them, and especially against people who are renting in our neighborhoods, because it's not right, you know, when renters seem to have more rights than owners, and they're devaluing our property. You should see some of the pictures I brought, what I have to live next door to, and what I have to listen to and put up with. And I'm done. I can't do it. Anyway, besides all that, isn't about me. It's about what's going on. So anyway, it took us a while to get rid of that house. We just got rid of it. This guy came in and bought it, and he fixed it up, and he just made it beautiful. And the neighborhood quieted down. The zombies were gone. The noise settled. You know, and it feels like a halfway decent neighborhood again. We're getting there. We've got a few more we got to get rid of. I picked the brains out of some kid that lived across from me for drugs in that duplex. And I don't need to see that. I don't need to do that. I don't want this stuff in our neighborhood. I don't want these fly-by-night renters. I just don't.
Okay, so the answer to the question is there is a Crime Stop. You do have a neighborhood watch thing in place. Okay, that was the question. I want to try to keep it, if we can, to the focus. Yep.
Pretty busy over there.
Yep. So, anyone else? Commissioner Halstead.
Curious, you mentioned there was another location nearby that was going to do a VRBO, but then opted out.
Opted out. That's what
So had they gone through the process of a conditional use permit that you're aware of? So they just bought it with that intention and then before?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other rentals that are there are all long-term rentals?
They're all long-term. And at least we know who they are. I mean, you know, and even though we have to deal with them, we know who they are. They're not just people coming in and spending 2 or 3 nights for a week or two and, you know, she's got a story for you too, so, you know.
So these long-term rentals, though, are locations that have been issues in the past?
Excuse me?
The long-term renters are the ones that have given you issues in the past as far as noise or?
We have not been introduced to this overnight thing yet, this Airbnb.
Right. As far as your long-term rentals, though, the locations that are in a long-term rental status, are those the ones that have been your potential issues?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Definitely, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So, maybe got more. So I guess as a kind of a follow-up to that then, so the people that own in there, you don't have any problems with any of the owners in there at all with any of these same kind of problems? Is it just the rentals?
Just the rentals.
Just the rentals, okay.
Yeah, and we all live within, you know, this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
we're right there.
Yep.
All together. This is about half of us. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
But no, we have problems with the owners of the rentals because they don't do anything.
Certainly, but not just owners that are living there are not
No,
necessarily
no,
the problems.
We haven't
Okay.
had any problems with
Okay.
owners.
All right.
And we don't want any problems. It's not that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
trying to burst
You're
their
good.
bubble or to, you know, I get it, you know, I mean, what a great investment, what a great opportunity. But at the same time, you have to take your neighbors into consideration. I've been in that house for 33 years. I take care of it. I try to beautify it. I landscape. What good does it do? You know, when I'll show you pictures of the trash that is around me. And it's not fun, and it's not right, and it's not fair to other homeowners to have to deal with that. We pay for our peace of mind and serenity and privacy in our own homes and yards. And we should have that.
Okay. Oh, Vice Chair Dothert, you good? All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Next person.
Ashley Bauman, and I live at 312 Portlock Street. So just because I only have 3 minutes, I want to go quickly. My issue is with the quiet time. I realized that you guys had mentioned that, and I just last week called the police about noise problems that we've consistently had for the last 6 months, and they said there is no longer a quiet time in Kenai.
Oh, wow.
Also, the Mains have really done a great job at picking good renters, so it's not anything against them, but they are on vacation, you know, and as they should be, you know, most of their kids and grandkids live out of state. The other issue is there is no privacy in our neighborhood. There is literally no privacy. I mean, my house is 12 feet away on each side to either house, and almost all the houses in the neighborhood are that way. There is absolutely no privacy. Very few people have privacy fences. Most of the fences are chain link fence. So there just is none. It's a very condensed area. We have a ton of rentals, and you would think that the people that own the rentals in our neighborhood would do a better job. Most of them own businesses. Like the owner of the flats owns the worst rental in our house, in our neighborhood. 5 Star Realty is another one. He owns a house, he rents to his family, and they are the absolute worst. I have been in his office addressing these issues multiple times. So this is a consistent problem that we have had. We cannot get the people that own the properties to take better consideration. We currently do have an Airbnb already in our neighborhood, and since they've rented out 5 times, they have already had 4 people stay from out of state. They were drinking daily. I have this on front row. I can see it from my house. Playing in the snow in their bathing suits, 2 younger couples, and they completely destroyed these people's countertops to the point where they all have to be replaced. This is 5 times they've rented it out, 5 times, so 1 out of 5. And so this is like, for us, you know, to say, okay, let's do another Airbnb. Yes, 1 out of 5 destroyed their house, was completely trashed inside. The other 4 did an amazing job. You know, left it clean or whatever, but that's not very good odds, you know, and considering that there isn't any privacy, we do have to listen to their music. That guy, the 2 couples that were staying there, the guy was going out and drinking every night, and I have to watch and listen to him come home drunk every single night from the bar while they were there. I have nightmares. I have little children that play outside, and I don't let my children play outside because people drive. I live right on a corner, but it's not like an actual corner. People speed up to go around that corner. And it's been a consistent problem since I've lived in that house, like to the point where I will have nightmares that somebody has hit one of my children. And so letting more people come in to the neighborhood is an issue for me. Yeah, and then the neighborhood watch thing, just the last thing I wanted to touch on. It honestly feels like not that the police are not help, but the laws aren't set up to allow the police to do as much help as you think. Like when I called about the noise complaint, and they're saying there isn't a noise, you know, there's no quiet time in Kenai. So it's like, it doesn't matter what you call with, there's always like we've had drunk drivers, and I've called and they've said, there's only 1 cop on duty right now and he's busy doing this. Can't help you out. You know, and this was the drug house, and the guy kept driving through the neighborhood and honking his horn. This went on from 10 till 2 in the morning, and a cop did not show up until the next day, and he still blew over the next morning after parking in a neighbor's driveway, or in a neighbor's yard, his truck. So it's like, this is the kind of stuff that goes on Portlock Street. I realize that you see that, okay, they're close, but it's still a different neighborhood. Our neighborhood from where the Mains live is a different neighborhood, and it doesn't maybe seem that way, but it is. We're kind of cut off because of the way the intersection meets to be like our own little area. And so that's I love the Mains. I think they would do a great job renting. It's not anything against them. It's really the issue of who are you bringing in. The other people that I talked to that ended up going away from the Airbnbs, my biggest issue was you don't know who is staying there. Pedophiles do rent Airbnbs. It is an actual problem. I work with a human trafficking organization here in Kenai, and it is an actual problem. And so you don't know who's renting your house. You don't know who is staying there.
Okay, we'll stop you there. We got some questions, I'm sure. Yep, Commissioner Fikes.
So Yeah, I guess if I had a choice, I would want somebody who A, is there and present and living on the street and going to experience some of that angst again. And then also, if, you have a choice, their home's going to be destroyed. Their investment property is going to be destroyed. I mean, they got skin in the game, I would think, as opposed to somebody else who's an absentee or out-of-state person. So I guess I look at it that way. And then how is it different from somebody who comes in for 2 weeks or 30 days versus this person that they selected and said, okay, you can rent it for the 6 months to a year? I guess that's what I'm struggling with, is trying to understand that difference. I totally hear your concerns, and I remember that house. That was the vacant house. I was here, and I remember conversations with the police. So I'm glad to hear that that was resolved. But to be honest with you, Cheryl scares me. So if she came at me and was complaining about my rental or my tenants or something, she scares me. And I remember her when she was worried about the house that's just adjacent, or the apartments that are adjacent to her. Yeah, I know, whatever. But I'm just saying, as opposed to somebody, like you say, is a business in Soldotna that rents out properties 9 to 5, hope you can try and get there. But after hours, I mean, knocking on her door, I'm pretty sure she'd come out in her slippers and house coat and say, get off my property.
I do believe that she would, but if they're not there, there is that issue of who do we address, if they're on vacation.
And is that a condition that we could possibly put into a conditional use permit that would make it more acceptable if there was some criteria that could be met that way?
I just worry you guys are opening the door for us in the future for you guys continuously to say yes to our neighborhood, and it does change the dynamics to us of our neighborhood. It really honestly does. Like, we don't want to be a hotel, and it is that small that you will turn our block into a hotel.
Got it.
So it's going to look like a hotel parking lot. I don't know if you've stayed in Anchorage lately, but we go up all the time, and every single time we go, it's like, okay, I'll pick a nicer hotel. Marijuana, smoking, and it's just like, it's constant. Like, you go and it's like, okay, this time we'll stay for a place in the middle of winter, $200, and then we're completely smoked out of our room, like where we can see it coming in, and you go down and it's like, because it's legal, so it's like their hands are tied. And so I think you're going to turn our street into a hotel. Eventually it will happen, because so many people, it is a lucrative business, and I get that, and it's a good business decision. I'm not trying to say that it isn't, but how many houses, there's other people that currently own houses that rent, that they're working on remodeling. It's like, are they going to go Airbnb after this one goes Airbnb? And how many houses can we have on our street that are like that? I think if Kenai wants to invest in, bringing tourists in, like, I feel like, there's better ways than letting homeowners do Airbnbs.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Vice Chair Dothett. Vice Chair Dothett.
You'd mentioned the privacy situation with this property in particular to yours. I'm just throwing out ideas for conditions that if we were to move forward with this, I'm not saying it is, but if it were, would a possibility of asking for a privacy fence be something that you would be willing to help you with that?
I actually don't live, I'm down the street, and that's what I had asked the guy that bought the house next to me. I said, if you rent it out as an Airbnb, I'm going to ask that you build a privacy fence, because I don't trust, whoever's coming overnight, and I shouldn't. I have 3 small children, and I think it is a legitimate concern. I don't know if you guys have looked into the human trafficking and what's going on in this area, but it is extremely high in the summertime, and I think it would be a large concern, especially with an Airbnb. There is no background check, and you can rent from VRBO, Airbnb with a, like those prepaid credit cards that you can buy from Walmart. You can rent from their sites with that, so they have no name. Yes. So there's literally no way to check on who is renting from you. You do not know.
On that, as far as payment goes, you are correct, you can pay, but you are required to show photo ID. Now, granted, they could probably falsify if they want to go that route or whatever, but you are required to show photo ID. It's not a complete ghost.
It's not a complete ghost, but you can have anyone's photo ID. So you can look up somebody's photo ID and send that in instead of yours. You don't have to use your, I mean, if you search photo IDs, you can find a picture of somebody's on the internet and submit it. But that being said, I don't want to say anything, I don't want you guys to think I'm saying anything about the Mains as far as their rentals. They're honestly the best rentals in our neighborhood. Yeah, they really are. So.
We should make them be the property managers for everybody, maybe. And then never let them go on vacation. Anyone else have any questions? All right.
And honestly, if this was just a yes for them and a no for everyone else, it would be a different situation. But my biggest concern is if it's yes for them, and that was what made me decide to come down. If it's yes for them, does that mean it's yes for everyone down the line? That is why I'm here. It's not because I want you to say no to them. I just don't know what this opens.
Valid question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Oh, me?
You've been ready to go, I can tell.
This is from the neighborhood, so I'm just reading from the neighborhood.
All right, name and address for the record, please.
I am at 315 Portlock Street. I was directly next to the 313 drug house.
And your name too, please.
Jeannie Van Gorder. That was a huge problem, and that was the guy was out of town. Oh, he was out of state, not even out of town, he was out of state. And they would park up on our lawn. They're gone. So this is from the neighborhood. Broken Neighborhoods Airbnb Watch. There is a competition playing out every day in neighborhoods across America, and it has to do with safe communities and housing. Airbnb and other rentals seem to be competing with themselves to find new ways to run strong communities by replacing neighbors with dangerous strangers with big problems. Neighborhoods are the place where we spend our time, people raise their children, and build relationships. Because of the lack of regulation and bad actors, commercial landlords, our neighborhoods are laced with noise, crime, house parties, dangerous strangers, and more. Faced with Airbnbs, many negative side effects, neighborhoods around the country are becoming unrecognizable to residents who have lived in them their entire lives. When commercial landlords are allowed to buy up multiple residents and replace neighbors with strangers and dangerous illegal hotels, the fabric of our communities, what people have come to love about where they live, is torn apart. I am done.
You got 1 minute and 18 seconds left if you want.
Oh, we can talk about anything you want.
Okay, well, we'll find out if anyone has any questions for you. Anyone have any?
Can I?
Go ahead, absolutely.
I'm sorry. In regards to the Mains, their mom rents right next door to me. Their brother, Cheryl's brother, they have a house down the street across from Angie. They're wonderful renters. They rent to wonderful people. So there's not a problem with who they rent to. Other rentals in the neighborhood are a friggin' nightmare. A nightmare with the thumping and the loud, it's just loud music and the cars boom, 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 at all hours of the night. It's not fun. And I don't have kids. Ashley, the only one here that has small children, and the way they drive in the neighborhood, they speed through. I've yelled all the time. I'm yelling at people, when I'm out in my yard. Okay, I'm done.
You just about filled that time slot. All right, anyone have any questions? All right.
You're all scared. I'm not going to yell at you. Jeez, I got a bad rap.
All right, well, thank you. We'll see if we have anyone else to testify. A wise man once said. There is something to be said there. Okay, so I'm going to, yep, you certainly can.
Okay, and I'm not a good public.
Well, you will, but by the time you're done with this, you will be.
I can talk one-on-one, and I can go out in my pajamas and yell, but I'm going to stand.
That's fine. Yep, you can do that. And again, name and address.
All right.
First off, I want to say thank you for the compliments, because truly, when you guys came, I felt like you were like ganging up on us, and I thought these guys are my friends, and you are. And so, one thing I want to address, I wish I would have made notes.
Name and address. I can't let you talk till you get your name and address.
All right, 207 Walker Lane, and that's my old man there of almost 40 years.
You have a name though?
Cheryl May.
Okay, thank you.
Cheryl, anything but Sue. As Johnny Cash would say, because I was born on his birthday. That's my claim to fame in life. I should have made notes, since I have a problem with concentration because of a head injury, but I'm having, you guys pray for me, please. First off is Neighborhood Watch. I established it 25 years ago in that neighborhood for these reasons. And 2 drug houses were taken out, 2 of the biggest on the peninsula. The one on, is it 313, Fabiano's? Took 5 years, and I'm having a problem with the chief of police. I've gone before many meetings to address it with the chief of police, because I don't want to go into that now, because my next step is the commissioner of safety, because I have concerns about the chief. So, love everybody, don't always like everyone. So, there were deaths involved in this drug house that took 5 years. It shouldn't have taken 5 years. Don't get me started on it. One of them was a friend of ours that died, and we bought his house and put my mom in it. So we have been working on cleaning up this neighborhood. One thing I'm going to say to y'all is that you have scared me against an Airbnb, but we've been landlords for a long time, and we've had those same problems with tenants. Like you guys have pointed out, it could be, a year's lease, and they're going to be the same way as some person that's going to come destroy an Airbnb. You just don't know what's in somebody's heart. Only God can read your heart. So we do our best on people to try to read them to make sure that that's going to keep the peace. And we're going to, if we go forward with this, and I'm saying if, because this is an experiment for Rick and I. When we bought the house, we bought it for the view. We bought 3 houses there and ours. So we literally bought it for the view. No other reason. We're not greedy people. We are the best landlords, because you don't take it with you when you go. There's no money in heaven. There isn't. So we're not out to make a fortune. We're out to survive and help the community. And we do. Monetary, time, everything. God is our witness to that. God is all of our witness. So it does scare me what you're saying. And it can be strangers. But it can also be a witnessing place. And that's what we're setting it up for. I have putting up pictures of Jesus. I'm putting up scripture. The time is short. The Lord's coming. You can see it all around us. So it's not going to be a party house. I do have wine glasses in there. I'll drink a glass of wine. Marijuana's legal. I might have to puff once in a while. I have bad lungs, but it's legal. That's between me and God. But it's not going to be a party house. The minute it happens, I'm going to keep going because everyone else could. You bet your sweet ass I would be down there getting them. Because if we're out of town, excuse my language. Sorry. Come this way with it. Yes. Okay, well, I'm talking to my friends, and here we go.
Why don't you call here?
Yep.
They'll hear you.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So if there's problems and we're not in town, my brother Mark, who's a Marine, is right there. He's between one house down. There's no way this will be a party house. Ours isn't a party house. So, and the concern of human trafficking and strangers and pedophiles, we have that concern with every tenant. Like I said, we cannot read their minds. So, but this is not going to be set up as that. We felt it would be an enhancement to the neighborhood. Now I'm rethinking it. I don't know. It would be easier for us to do a month-to-month rental or a year contract with a tenant than it would be to do an Airbnb. Because an Airbnb, we've got to check, who is this? Set it all up for them. The next day have it cleaned. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of more work to do that. Our experiences, because we have traveled all over the United States, with Airbnbs have never been bad. We don't go in and trash, we don't go in and party. There are neighborhoods where that's not an issue. And we've stayed in all kinds of neighborhoods, from Tennessee to wherever we've gone, all over the United States. This neighborhood and these concerns, and I'm trying not to look over there because you told me not to, there are concerns. We have one of the roughest neighborhoods in the area. But I thought doing this Airbnb, it was an improvement. I didn't look at it from their point of view, and yet I did. So I'm trying to articulate this. I think it could be an enhancement if the right people are in there. It could bring people from all over the world, interesting people, good people. And I would say this right now, with God's help, that's what it would be, is a gathering. You know, it could be someone from China, it could be someone from Russia, Ukraine, to enhance our lives here. So, I don't know what we're gonna do. The more I know, the more I don't know. And this has been an interesting meeting, and I hope you don't think I'm a wacko. I'm trying not to be. But I want to thank you for your consideration, and I think my husband has something else to say.
Okay, we'll see if anyone has any questions for you. Look at that, Commissioner Fikes.
So with your regular rentals, did you, as a part of your application, have a requirement for a background check?
That's a good question. When we started out doing that, we don't know what we're doing still. We're learning day to day, you know, because my husband's a mechanic, like the best mechanic in the world, and I'm a home executive. I've done all kinds of stuff. So it's new to us, but what I usually do when I rent is I know so many people in town that I'm like, hey, do you know this person, you know that person? I've never really asked you. I don't. You know how many people I know?
I do.
How many people I deal
Yes.
with? But my husband, when they're been a stranger, my husband's really smart in the computer and a very smart man. He's able to do a background check. So there's been times that we make them pay the $20.
Yeah,
and then we have a background check done. But like Detective Ashley said, because that is her name, when I did Neighborhood Watch, I worked the last time, I established it with Desiree and Ashley. She's Detective Ashley. And I'm Cheryl, the mean one. And so she, you know, and I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, my husband does background checks. And I'm not going to get personal, but one of my last tenants, she convinced me she knew me from people that we mutually knew, but I don't know this lady, and now I wish I would have done a background check on her for different reasons. So I think it'd be harder when we rent to someone by the month or the year or whatever to do just single background check. It's easy to do. You do it once, and although that's what I was getting to Ashley, is she said they can impersonate, they can scam, they can, you know, get the, and I don't know all this, she does, they can get the visa or whatever, you know, and they could be a gang member and acting like a normal person. You know, they could be a wolf in sheep's clothing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, but it'd be harder in an Airbnb to check each person individually with a background check unless I was a police officer. I don't think I'd have that capability because my life is full. I have 3 kids and 14 grandkids, not all of them blood. So, you know, biblically it's God first, family second, church, whatever after that. So I couldn't guarantee that each person would have a background check, if that's what you're asking.
Sure, I understand that. I myself am looking at VRBOs. I'm going to Hawaii, so I don't want to stay in a hotel. I want to stay. So I'm kind of getting the lingo, and in doing so, I've actually read up on some cities that have switched gears, and I might ask Mr. Bloom in the back to come up and touch on some of the regulation, because I know Colorado and I believe Boise were talking about changing some of the regulation because of the impacts and the concerns that some residents have. But like you had brought up, you can also have a positive experience from that, and in doing some of that, I would think a background check or some other criteria or the experience that you bring from having regular rentals and some successes to the table. Because I have heard the horror stories where people have had rentals in the VRBO and they walked away and left the water running for a week and nobody knew it and flooded the whole place and they had to strip it down to the studs. So that terrifies me. I mean, I've had rentals and I've had to go to court with renters. So I mean, I feel you guys on all sides. So I'm really struggling here.
Can I say really quick that since we're down the street and my brother's right next door, that changes everything. We'd be watching them like a hawk. You know, and one of the things I was going to address is there's a big difference between a hotel and an Airbnb. We've had problems in hotels, just you don't even want to know. Same type of thing, you know, smoke or strangers, scary strangers. But an Airbnb, I believe the reason people like to go to an Airbnb is because they feel like they're home. A hotel, you're in a hotel. Yeah, and an Airbnb, and this is what we're setting this place up for, is a homey atmosphere. It's not like after a day of fishing, you're going to a hotel. You're going home. So that's why we wanted to experiment with that, because people come to our home in droves because it's homey. So that's what we're trying to achieve here, you know. But I don't want to cause problems in the neighborhood. Goodness sakes, for 25 years I've tried to clean it up. Why would I do that? But I understand, you know, these guys have opened my eyes. I'm trying not to look. You asked me not to. I'm trying not to look at them. But they've opened my eyes to things, you know. But the same things they've opened my eyes to are issues that we faced with yearly rentals or monthly. You can't read a person's heart. You can't. As hard, only God can. So.
Vice Chair Dothett.
So, as far as the background checks and stuff, with Airbnb and VBRO, I will bring up a couple of things that people that rent on there get a star rating by the people they rented from. That's kind of a little bit of a background check you can do. And you don't, unlike a hotel, they don't have to assume they accept every applicant. You get it, and as a VBRO or Airbnb owner, you have to accept their rental agreement. So you get to look at them, see their profile, look at their past history, their past ratings, and you get to choose who goes there. So it's not a guarantee that every single person that pays you $100 shows up at this door. So there are a few more precautions besides here's $100 on a Visa MasterCard and you can't see me, I don't know you. Mm-hmm. They're going to have some kind of account and some kind of a rental history. And if they don't, you don't have to accept a first-time renter. So there are some things that are for checks and balances, so to speak, with VBR or Airbnb. And I don't know if that's, everybody knows that, but I use Airbnb pretty much every town we've ever gone to, in the last 5 years. I travel for work and stuff, and I've had very good luck with it. And I much rather go to an Airbnb, VBRO type of establishment over a hotel. And the same way I can go to their star ratings and see how people like them as they can go to and see how I get rated on mine. And I'll be the very first time I did it, I had no star ratings at all, and it took me 2 or 3 places before somebody actually accepted my offer to go there. So people don't accept everything. So there is some kind of a way you get a notification, this person wants to be here, and they have to actually accept it and say, okay, you can come in, kind of thing. So,
and that's where my husband would be. You know, because of my head injury, I can't do the computer very well. So my husband is on it. So I mean, and we want to keep everyone safe. That's a yes. Why wouldn't we? So,
Commissioner Halstead.
How many rentals do you have total? I'm hearing 4, but is there more than 4?
No. Well, on this street we have 3. So we have my mom in one. We have these people whose names I don't mention because they're my tenants. I don't mention their name because that's their privacy. And then we have this one in question, the Airbnb.
Is that the only rentals that you have, or do you have additional ones?
No, I have one in Woodland, and I have a cabin.
Okay. And these are all long-term rentals that you've had in the past? Yeah. And have you had problem renters in the past that have done damage, or?
Very little, because like Diane said, I'm scary for some reason. No. If I will tell you this, and I'm not trying to brag, my ex-tenants come up and hug me and get a hold of me from the States to see if I have rentals. The ones that are bad, gone, like that. So no, it is rare.
Okay, and so I'm hearing 6 locations additional?
Rick?
5?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have an empty lot. He's the one who has to answer because
It'll be 5 with this one.
This one would make 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, we don't put up with a bunch of BS. I don't.
Okay.
So I can't. I mean, I don't have time, and plus I'm mean.
So have you spoken with your brother as far as being enforcement, quote unquote, on this location?
He's my right-hand man.
So, I mean, is it something that would be mandatory for him to be available when you guys are out of town, or is it just kind of it'd be cool if you were there type thing?
He managed, when we leave, we were living in Tennessee for the winter when my husband was working on the slope. We were in Tennessee for the winter in Nashville, and we were in here for the summer. But we have been here for years. We chose not to retire in Nashville because my mom is in her 80s. Plus, I'm an Alaskan, born and raised. I have native blood. My grandmother was half Aleut and half German, so I won the battle. He wanted to retire in Tennessee. I want to retire here. I'm the winner sometimes. So, and no, we don't have problems, and I don't know where we were going with this. Sorry.
It's well understood that your brother is managing when you're not there.
Concentration problem. My brother, when we leave, is always the one that steps up. If it's not my brother, I have like 10 friends that'll do it. So I have no problem with backup.
Right, but that is the understanding that you have with your rentals.
With my brother, and then since we're landlords, we keep our phones with us 24/7 if there's any problems, and there's never a time that our landlords can't reach anyone. Never. They have a list of names and numbers to call at any time. They go to us first, they go to my brother, and then whoever's underneath us. So it's always covered 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I go?
No, not yet. I think I have a question for you. Hang on here. Maybe it was answered already.
Make it a good one.
Now you got pressure on me. So here's what when you accept someone's offer, say on this from an Airbnb, do you need to be at the house when they get there? Do you have a lockbox, or you will put an ID to a face and make sure the people that
We have
we're
not
on-
worked out those fine details, and I act like I'm the boss, but he's really the boss, and he's really the mastermind. Don't tell anyone, but we will be meeting them face to face as they get there. There's
Okay.
no way that, no, I mean, I'm with them, and I'm trying not to look at them. I'm not gonna just do it, let's do this by electronic, whatever, no, it'll be hands-on, every time.
Okay, and then, and maybe your husband can answer this as well, but posted rules, including this quiet time and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I have a list going on every little thing, like, today I told him I was hanging a little pretty glass ball that I got at a garage sale, or Goodwill, or Salvation Army, for an earthquake detector, so that people that come from the States that don't live in earthquake states, if that starts moving, I'm gonna have instructions on what to do in an earthquake. I mean, we're covering every base so we don't get sued. So, I mean, we're on it in that way, and if I'm not, he is.
That loud thumping music might do it though too. You have to be careful with that. So
I'm kind of the culprit of that, so I'm not gonna say it,
okay.
because I play my music very loudly.
Commissioner
but I try not
Fikes.
to.
Just one quick question along that same path of thought. So what is an ideal check-in and check-out time or process?
That's my husband's job.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Commissioner Greenberg.
You had a question about the neighborhood watch and how does that operate? Is that something where there's somebody continuously patrolling the neighborhood, or is it something there's somebody's manning a phone, or how does that work?
What's happened to this neighborhood watch is it's kind of not as active as it used to be. And to tell you the truth, and I've talked to Ashley about this just a little, I don't believe neighborhood watch is safe anymore. So I established it I'll tell you why. I established it 25 years ago, and we're still going to use the neighborhood watch signs. In fact, more need to be put up, and I'm working with Grimm through the police department. But the reason I don't want to do neighborhood watch anymore, I'm the one that started it 25 years ago, and I was told I was the first person ever on the peninsula to do it. Grimm told me this. I didn't know that. I believe I started with Jay Sjogren, and then I did it with McBride. These are all police officers, and then I ended up with Grimm. But God started putting on my heart this. For one thing, the cartel is here. Anytime there's drugs like the cartel is here. The Mexican cartel is here. And I'm just going to drop it there. Do your own research. Anytime there's heroin and meth like there is, who do you think's bringing it in? There's gang activity here, open your eyes. There's human trafficking, open your eyes. So neighborhood watch, I'm doing neighborhood watch. I'm a little grandmother doing neighborhood watch. And the cartel might look at me and go, that's the lady we're going to off next. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm watching the news at night. Los Angeles is being taken over by gangs.
All right, we're gonna.
Hang on.
No, let's.
Okay.
I hear all that, but let's
I
keep
know,
with
but
what
wait,
we're. Yeah.
Neighborhood watch isn't safe because then they know who's watching them. So I will not do neighborhood watch anymore. I have a new system devised in the neighborhood, but it'll be secret. It won't be like out in the open. Here's a neighborhood watch meeting. Here's the 3 people organizing neighborhood watch. It's not safe anymore. It isn't. Because then, if it's the cartel, if it's a drug dealer, if it's whatever, they can target us. So it's not safe, it's not private. It isn't. So I have another method that'll be going in the neighborhood.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
But I haven't
Nope.
presented it to Grimm yet. Detective Grimm, or not, he's not a detective.
Commissioner
anymore.
Greenberg, any follow up? Or are you good?
Yeah, I just, when it was operational, did you feel it was effective?
Yes. Yes, I felt it was effective if we would have had more cooperation and a better chief.
Okay. Let's bring Mr. Main back up here. See if we can get a few more questions answered from you. I can't remember. Was it Commissioner Fikes? Did you have a?
Yes, I was just curious to help get a timeline on arrival and departures of people into the rental. If it'll be during the daytime hours, it'll be nighttime hours. What's the check-in possibly, target date or check-out, and then what's kind of the process to take place after somebody may have left?
Well, check-in, obviously, it would be best, done during daylight hours. I don't know how that's gonna work, to be honest with you,
It would kind of been the
but, Check in, check out process, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you.
I guess, so what I'm trying to get towards, I guess, so it wouldn't be a norm or it wouldn't be your intention to rent to somebody who said, hey, I'll be there, but I'm not arriving till midnight or 1 a.m. So that would not be a desired time to rent. Would that be a possibility, or?
No, I mean, that wouldn't be desired, but, I mean, we have lots of daylight, we stay up late in the summer times, and if someone was showing up late, I mean, we could easily meet them late, you know?
Okay.
Whatever works out, we'd be flexible.
So even if it did occur at an odd hour after quiet time per se, you would at least be having a face-to-face meet. It wouldn't just be a stranger showing up at there.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, anyone else have any questions? Okay, I don't have any either, so I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
For your consideration.
Come on.
What's that? For 1 minute, just, well, no, but if we're gonna do it, I'll do it, yep.
I don't mean to contradict what Cheryl
Let's,
said.
yeah, okay,
Oh, Jeannie Van Gorder, 315 Portlock Street.
thank you.
I don't mean to contradict what Cheryl said about her brother right down the street, which is right next door to me. He works out of town Monday through Friday. He comes back and stays with his mom on the weekends. So he's not in town
That's not true.
during
at
the
all.
week.
I'm gonna rebut that. If I can. I know it's.
Well, please.
Thank you.
I talked to the mom yesterday, I brought her groceries in, and she said he's out of town because he works down at Homer. He's got a new job.
Okay. All right,
Sorry.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I say one thing?
You know, I will let you come up, but
Okay.
we have to be able to record it, so come up. I'll let you answer that because I
Yes.
opened up Pandora's box. And because it is maybe gonna be somewhat relevant to how we decide this, I will let you answer that question. That question only.
Yes.
So come on up.
Okay.
Don't talk till you get up there because we gotta record it. If you ever listen to one of these, you'll realize how important it is to be at that microphone when you
I'm
talk.
learning.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that's not true. My brother's works for a company that puts him all over the place. Most of the time he's in town. He's lately had to go to Homer. This week he left Monday and he comes back Thursday. Sometimes he's in Happy Valley, sometimes he's in, Kasilof. I mean, it could be anywhere. He has no set place. He doesn't work 5 days a week in Homer and then the weekends home. That's not true at all. And like I said, if my brother's not in line for it, I have 10 other people that are. But she does not know my brother's schedule.
Okay, good enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not gonna do it anymore. No. No, it'll never end. Okay. Okay. All right, anyone else wishing to testify that hasn't? I don't think everyone has. Nobody's out on there, so we are going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Who would like, Vice Chair Dothit?
I would like to make a couple amendments or to possible stipulations for this, if that's okay, unless somebody else wants to talk about something else first.
Well, let's go ahead and do them. Well,
Is it possible to get some thought or feedback from Mr. Bloom in the back, maybe?
we can if we need to, I think, probably, but let's get your amendments out of the way. Let's just do them.
I would recommend, so we got the time limit already, correct, 10 to 6 in there? Correct. I think it came about, I don't know if this would need to be an amendment, or if it was something that would go on to consideration for the landscape plan, possibility of a privacy fence might address some of the issues there for, maybe somebody can direct me on that. Would that be more the landscape plan, or would that a condition we need to add to that?
Mr. Foster?
Thank you, Chair Twait. Vice Chair Dothit. If that was added as an amendment, as a condition, then certainly with the requirement with condition 2, to have a landscape site plan, I would ensure that that would be included.
So we could do that as a condition, correct?
Mr.
Chair,
Foster,
yes.
yep.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
All right, so I would like to propose an addition of a condition of a privacy fence to address some of the concerns of the privacy for the close-by neighbors as a condition of this.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. All right. Let's have some
I
discussion
guess
regarding
We would
that.
just say a 6-foot privacy fence, and it
Okay.
would be not needed for a building permit, that city code.
Okay, so that's friendly amendment to make it 6 foot, so a 6 foot privacy fence, and that was seconded. Any other discussion?
I would like a face-to-face, just to make it a condition.
Are we, no discussion on the amendment? Good?
As far as just the fence?
Yep,
We can add more
exactly.
later.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Woodard?
Yes?
Commissioner Greenberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Fikes?
Commissioner Fikes?
Yes.
Commissioner Halsted?
Yes.
Chair Tweet?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dothett?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, another amendment?
I'd just
Commissioner
like,
Fikes, go ahead.
I'd just like to make an amendment that it's a requirement that the owner is there to meet the applicants face-to-face. So it's just setting a precedence moving forward that whoever else applies for it, we asked it of this application, we would be asking of the applications moving forward.
So we need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so discussion. Now, do we want to say owner or owner's representative? Because they're not going to be able to be there every single day of the year. So I don't know that that's fair to anyone. So some kind of management, however you want to, I mean, owner's representative is probably as good as anything, so.
Camera system.
No, I want somebody there. I mean, we're asking to protect the neighborhood, so I would like to leave it up to somebody who's got skin in the game, is my thought.
Well,
Like you said.
and I think they
They did, but I'm looking
yeah,
at the
no,
greater
no, I'm saying that I don't think they have a problem with somebody being there to do that, but like I said, I don't think it's fair to put them, I mean, they could get COVID, can't go down there. There could be all kinds of reasons they can't, so I think you could encompass
A
it with.
representative, okay, great, a
Okay.
representative.
Okay, and who seconded that?
I did. I'm
You're
okay
good with that? Okay. Any other discussion regarding that?
I would
Vice
just
Chair
like to
Dothert.
say, on that one, I could see have an option for greeting people via camera system if somebody wasn't available to, but I don't know. Because in A, they would have a security camera system. Well, everybody has rings nowadays. And B, that if for somebody, for some forsaken reason, at least they're putting visual eyes on somebody and they can see somebody. So I think either a representative or at least a camera system for greeting people to know when they come and who's identifying who's there. You'd have a record of who showed up, photograph proof that this is the person that showed up. At least they match the photo that showed up in their application. I think that could be an also stipulation. As far going as looking out into the future, that some of these possible future VBRO people may not be able to actually have a representative there 24/7, so to speak, to meet people. But a possible ring camera might suffice for that. Or security camera, can't do ring, don't want to endorse anybody.
All right, do you want to revise your motion?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so we will need to revise the motion then, or withdraw it and start over, one of the two.
I would recommend making that an additional stipulation rather than a combined, where we would add another motion for security, enhanced security at a facility rather than, I think meeting a person on site with a representative is very different than what we're talking about, having enhanced security at a location as well. Those are two completely different things.
I'm combining them is that it would be an enhanced, you could either have a representative physically meet somebody or greet them with a camera system.
An alternative.
As an alternative, because you can talk through the ring, you can see somebody, you can talk through the cameras. It would be both in that situation, and that's how I would propose it. Either a representative in person or a camera system to be able to meet somebody to check in.
Okay, you know what, you're like my children. I'm gonna have to start whipping people here. Let's just, yeah. So, do you want to? I mean, are you saying you want cameras there regardless? Is that what you're saying? Because
I think if we're having a concern about the location and the people at the location, then I personally think that the idea of a camera system or requiring security cameras be at a location is not within our jurisdiction. But I think that there is a good precedent that the owner be there in person, or an owner representative be there in person to meet the person. I don't
Okay,
think
so
that
I got
a
you.
remote-only solution is not a good option,
okay,
in my personal opinion.
all right. So, what we have right now is owner or owner's representative at this point. That's the motion. Do we want to vote on that, or do you want to change your motion to include or electronic cameras? Or we can just vote this up and down and add cameras, or bring that up as a separate amendment.
I can offer it as a condition that they have a owner and/or selected representative with contact info required on their conditional use permit, and then if that's not readily available, then an alternative could be the application of security equipment.
Do we want to just take a moment to just write out the motion, make sure, or is everyone clear on that?
Yeah, you know
Okay.
what? I'll tell you what, we will. Let's just take a 5-minute break real quick.
Okay.
So owner representative or
All right, we are back on the record. Commissioner Fikes.
Alrighty, I will go ahead and add an amendment for a owner and/or rep.
So we have an amendment up there. You're gonna revise
I'm
that
gonna revise
existing?
it, yes.
Okay.
Tighten it up. We will have an owner and/or rep must be available to meet the guests at the location or provide a video and/or security style check-in for confirmation.
All right, and who seconded that?
I did. I agree.
Okay, all right. Discussion. Good? Commissioner Halstead?
I think that the first part of that is phenomenal, and I would be in agreement of that. I think that there should be somebody on site to greet the applicant as they're coming in, or the renter to rent, just in case there's any questions or anything that happens to come up while they're there on site. By the way, this is how the key works. This is how where the garage door opener is, XYZ. I think the requisite or the requirement in there to have video surveillance on site opens up a very broad spectrum. I mean, are we requiring the $20 Radio Shack camera that was from 1980 that gives you a blurry outline of a person, or are we needing a 4K high definition video? I mean, there's such a wide spectrum that there's no way we could, unless we get it really narrowed down on we want specific angles of a driveway, something has to be on the door. I think that opens up way too much, and for that reason I would be voting down this, which is unfortunate because I very much agree with the first part of it.
Vice Chair Dothett.
Just from my past experience with VBR Airbnbs, I would say 75% of them are, you get an email with a code, you show up, you unlock the door, you walk in, there's no video surveillance, you never meet anybody, you lock up, you leave, the next day you never meet anybody, and away you go. I think this is a step in the right direction. I think it's above and beyond what most communities would require for Airbnbs. I think nowadays most people are going to have a Ring or similar style system available readily. We don't even have a Radio Shack. I don't even know if they exist anymore, so I don't know if that quite pertains. No jab there. But with the day and age of technology and stuff, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think it's a good idea and a good compromise, and I will be voting for this.
Anyone else? There would be an option if we wanted to. We could divide the question and separate them again if we wanted to, if we feel like it's the right thing to do. If not, we'll vote it, and if we want to make another amendment to fine-tune this, we can do that as well. Commissioner Fikes.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with that. I'm trying to do the best I can to meet the needs of those that have testified tonight, as well as those that are applying for this conditional use, and who else might be out there in Zoom land listening. And like I say, to try and pull in some kind of accountability and responsibility for the actions of the owners. And so I can certainly see moving forward in that technology, but like Mr. Halstead said, I kind of struggle too on how you execute that. I can see where that could be, yeah, well, I interpret that to mean a Radio Shack thing that I pulled out of my dad's shed, and the next person pulls out a Ring one and they've got 3-dimensional and this one has 2-dimensional. So yeah, I can see we were splitting hairs with that. So I'd be okay with just having one requirement. I was just trying to give an alternative to somebody that might not be available to come physically in person. And an alternative to that would be, like I say, having them present and having them provide adequate phone numbers for responses for any kind of issues that might arise.
Commissioner Halstead.
I would say that if this did get voted down, I would like to rephrase that so that it did require an on-site. And again, for the additional purpose of there would be the requirement of having someone physically there. And if that's someone's on vacation, then your representative that's not there to be there for you is the one that's going to be there, so that they know when I call for an issue, this is the person that I'm talking to. And again, they can physically see the person.
Vice Chair Dothett.
I would just like to bring up the enforceability of being able to prove that somebody met every single guest. If you look at an enforcement side, that's going to be very difficult to prove. Where if you have a video camera, that might be more. Well, they're saying you're not meeting everybody and you don't have video camera. Enforceability wise, for possible conditions violations, I think having the videos would be much easier to prove than he said, she said, that he didn't meet every guest. If you look at enforceability, I think this gives us a little bit more teeth for possibly unapproved enforceability issues if we had video confirmation of that. As far as the neighbor didn't see me check every neighbor in, okay, well, how are we going to set surveillance and make sure between noon and midnight they had a cop sit there and watched for when they checked in a guest and they didn't show up? I see enforceability of this being difficult without video.
Then do we put stipulations on data retention? Do we put stipulations on video quality? Who's to say that that's not a video that I pulled out from last week when I had someone in here, or last summer when I had someone in here? There's so many things that need to be followed. As someone who deals with that, I know that is information that could very much be spoofed or edited or very much become inadmissible.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, I had some of the enforceability and some of the feasibility might be difficult. Like, what about the timing? What if they met them the next day? What if they came in really late or something like that, 2 a.m? Their flight was late. Is that okay? If it was the next day, but they were there to monitor them, there to, be responsive. What does this? How does this translate into that? So they can't get them at 2 a.m. because they're late. Is that against this code, or is that against this criteria, or I don't know. I just have that question.
Okay, yeah, and I think if we could, I think we will. Let's divide this into 2 parts. Let's take care of the on-site owners or their owners' representatives. I think we can vote that thing, and then we can go back and talk about the cameras. And then I think you make a valid point. We're not saying that check-in and check-out time is this, and somebody has to be there. So I think, somebody could fly in to Anchorage and drive down and get there at 2 a.m. There's only so much we can really do. But I would guarantee you that the door will get knocked on in the morning. I'm pretty sure of that, to make sure everything's good. So, but let's go ahead, and I think if we can get a motion to divide the question, and let's do this that way, I think it'll be a better solution. So, Commissioner Fikes.
I will go ahead and peel off, if that is okay. Just accept the first part.
We'll just make a motion or a move to divide the question.
Yeah, we can do a motion to divide the question, and
Okay.
then we'll just need a second.
Yep.
Okay, I make a move that we go ahead and divide it.
Okay, and we need a second.
Second.
Discussion, or do we just go to vote?
And I'll just clarify, so the first component that we're voting on is to add a condition that the owners or representative must be available to meet the guest at location at check-in. Is that
Correct.
Okay, and then the
Correct.
second component will be to add, or to provide video or security system for check-in confirmation, so.
And I think I guess that's probably correct. Okay, so Yep, go ahead.
So we're going to vote once to say they have to be there in person, and we're going to vote again the second time to say that they could also be there via video surveillance.
And I think, and that's what I was questioning, I think they're 2 separate things. The second one isn't an or, it's then to have cameras on site, I believe.
Okay, it's an or to add.
It's
okay.
not an or, right? Do you want it to be an or?
I thought the way it was written the first time was it was an or.
Okay,
It was like
then
you
that's
can
how-
either meet them
then-
in person
Okay.
or do this as an option.
Okay, then that works, yep,
It
absolutely.
doesn't put a burden of installation of some system that.
Yeah, if they don't want to put
somebody
cameras in, they can meet them in
Yeah.
person. If they aren't going to be able to be there all the time, they could have
Okay,
cameras.
all right, so,
Okay,
Commissioner
I
Woodard.
understood that we were going to add that they could meet them like the next day or something, like within a 24 hour or 12 hours or something, if the person showed up at 2 a.m.
We had at check-in.
We did have at check-in. Do you want to just revise that and just say meet them at location and leave off at check-in?
Well, I understand we started off that way, but I thought in talking, we decided that maybe they wouldn't be there if they came in at 2 a.m. and it would be within a reasonable amount of time.
Within a 24-hour
or 12 even. 24
Yeah,
is probably
can't.
good.
So,
I was gonna say, I would rather stick with just a check-in, that's the point of, except if that's 2 in the morning, it's your business, you better be willing, and if you're not gonna do it, then you better provide a rep. I hear you
Or a
going down,
video.
that was not my intent to hand it off 24.
Oh.
Personally, I wouldn't wanna do that.
It's the owner's prerogative to check in and deny it, so you can
Exactly, yeah, yeah. I'm okay with the way it is, unless somebody else wants to make an adjustment.
okay. Any other discussion regarding that first question?
I guess I just need clarification. So we're voting first off to not have the video, and then we'll vote again to say that we want to add video.
That is correct.
And if we vote for the first one and not the second one, then they have to be present, and video is not an option.
Correct. Well, I think video could be an option at their own discretion, but it would be, I mean, they could still install a camera.
But it doesn't
this-
supersede the first one.
Correct.
I hate to beat this down, but it sounds like the first vote is the meeting of the people regardless. The second part of the vote is this video component.
Correct. Absolutely.
As an option.
Yep.
So we would not, you wouldn't say no on the first one if you wanted them to meet them in person on the second one, correct? Or is that backwards?
Say that again.
Yeah, but if you say no on the first one, because you want the second one as an option,
The first one is only that you want to meet them in person, that regardless of video or not video, correct?
Yeah, that's not, yeah, so there's only one paragraph.
Okay.
The only
The
one
only thing that
paragraph
we're,
on that
on
paragraph.
the second part, the only part that we're talking about is the video part of it.
Second part.
Second part.
Yep.
I guess I'm just confused. Why can't we just go for a vote with it all included as one? It sounds like it's getting very confusing right here. And it just all the same, with or, vote on it, see what happens, and then if we need to change it from there, we'll cut it down, I guess. But I just think this or and we're gonna vote on first is getting very confusing. Because quite frankly, I want it to be, and I would vote for the first part and the second part in one lump sum. I
Okay,
don't want to be at just
so
the first one. And
let's-
not to be able to sec the second one as an addition.
Okay. Mr. Bloom, can you give us any guidance on what's the right approach here?
Well, I think dividing the question is probably the best solution because there's some people that might be in favor of part of it and some people that might not be in favor of the second part of it. If you vote on the whole motion and it fails, you can't vote again on a motion or a similar motion once you just failed it.
So you're dividing it into 2, so the commission is being asked to either accept or reject the first part of the division, and then you're going on
You
to the
can-
second. And
you
you're
can-
accept or reject it.
Absolutely. So I think that's the safest route to take. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Greenberg,
No.
Commissioner Fikes,
Yes.
Commissioner Halsted,
Yes.
Chair Tweet,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dothett,
No.
Commissioner Woodard.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Okay, so now the other half of that is, so the other option would be to have video surveillance, if you will, to be allowed for check-in. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fikes,
Yes.
Commissioner Halsted,
No.
Chair Tweet,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dothett,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg.
No.
Motion passes.
All right, the main motion as amended. Mr. Dothett, any other amendments that you had?
Just for clarification, we have the check-in and the fence, correct? Is that
Correct.
current amendments?
Yep.
And we already have the time, correct? Okay.
Yep.
Nothing else for me.
All right, anyone else? Commissioner Halsted?
Just my thoughts on the whole thing and what's been presented. It sounds like the applicant has shown that they've been able to manage rentals in the past and has been capable. I don't see any issue that this would cause. I understand that short-term leases versus long-term leases, there's additional or higher potential for issues, but I also have, from personal experience in my neighborhood, I've got full-time owners that are the same type of problems as a short-term lease or long-term lease. And unfortunately, that's something that I've got to deal with as a homeowner. I think I would be in favor in this just because, again, it seems like the applicants are more than capable of fulfilling the conditional use permit. We put these stipulations in there that are now enforceable. I think the quiet hours being part of our conditional use permit, if they violate that, that gives us the ability to revoke that conditional use permit, which hopefully will provide some peace of mind for the neighbors in dealing with that. So again, I would be in favor of this.
All right, thank you. I got a question for Mr. Bloom, if I can. It was brought up during the public testimony about not being able to enforce noise. Can you discuss that and kind of explain how that does work?
Thank you, Commissioner Twait. So the city does have a noise ordinance under public nuisance. It's not based on a time of day, but it says that the continued making of a loud or unusual noise which annoy persons of ordinary sensibilities. So that's under our nuisance code, so they could be cited for a nuisance violation. That's enforced through our planning and zoning department, not through our police department. What typically happens if the police are called for a noise complaint is if they find that there is a noise, that's unreasonable, they'll just tell the people to shut it down. But our police department doesn't cite people for it.
Well, not, okay. Well, okay, all right, I would love for you to expound on that after this is all done, if you'd like. Thank you for that, Mr. Bloom. Anybody, Mr. Foster, did you look like you were getting ready to talk?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Chair Twait. I just did want to note, as food for thought, as a conditional use permit in the name of it is these conditions would be required to maintain that permit. And so when it comes to enforcement on, which is myself and the assistant planner, to have the quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then any time where there is a complaint, is really, at that point, we look to verify that. And so if we have some type of evidence that identified that there's unreasonable noise per our code that's happening within these quiet hours, or really even outside of these quiet hours, that gives it a little bit of teeth to be able to cite the property owner, whom is the conditional use permit holder, and have them remedy that issue. So I did want to just note that on the enforcement side.
Thank you. Commissioner Fikes.
So in line with that conversation, so if residents in the area or if someone were to have a complaint, so maybe a possible follow-up, it sounds like, would be to tap into the planning department and make sure that they have been contacted as well. If they previous night had an issue, called the police didn't show up, and then another mechanism would be to follow up the following day and say, hey, are you aware that this occurred? Would that be a reasonable expectation?
Mr. Foster.
Through the chair, Commissioner Fikes. That's correct, yeah, absolutely. And what I would say is also helpful, and depending on the code violation, it depends on the type of code violation as well as probably the comfort level of somebody who's reporting to myself as a code enforcement officer or my assistant planner as a code enforcement officer for the city is, if it has to do with junk vehicles, they could take photos, send that to us, or we can go by, do the site visit, and do that ourselves, which is what we do. Or when it comes certainly to noise, if somebody was able to provide evidence that shows that, this is occurring during these quiet hours, then that gives us something to investigate, verify, and then be able to provide that notification to the permit holder. So yes, to contact us and provide that notification or complaint, however you like to put it. I would encourage that.
Commissioner Halstead.
Didn't, for Mr. Foster, did we have a component on our website that was available for registering a complaint where we could upload a photo of a junk vehicle and location?
Mr. Foster.
Through the chair, Commissioner Hall said, yes, I do believe we still have that online you can submit code complaints. You can also call me, email me, or even walk in person. Yeah.
I missed his question.
My statement was in regards to code enforcement. There is a section on our website that's available to report a code violation, whether it's a junk vehicle or a noise complaint or anything like that. You could fill that out online. And then my other statement was, and I know I might be a little bit ahead of myself, but I know we talked in the past, last meeting about having a work session, and I think, as well as the one that we had last week, this one is a prime candidate for the types of issues that we're dealing with, where to have additional conditional use stipulations and items that are kind of preset or canned, as it were, would be extremely beneficial in helping us enforce in the future and make better decisions on these.
Agreed, and I think too, one of the comments that somebody made was that if we do this one, does it open a can of worms that everyone can get one, and it doesn't. I mean, they're each dealt with individually, so one doesn't mean that 10 will be automatically rubber stamped after that fact. So I wanted to make sure we understood that. Commissioner Woodard. Can you turn your microphone on?
Sorry, I had it on. For Mr. Bloom, is it possible for the owners to put into a contract that someone could be removed before their reservation was ended if they were disruptive?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bloom.
Commissioner Woodward, they can certainly put in whatever they want with their contract. I mean, we wouldn't regulate what their private agreement is with other parties, but, I don't think that's unusual in Airbnb situations, that if people don't follow the rules, they have to leave.
And if I might on that, there's on Airbnb, VVROs, you agree to a lot of conditions, and some owners can add extra conditions onto the contract you sign, but you basically are signing it. They're pretty strict on that, and there are early termination of contracts for that. They have had that in the past, I'm sure. So, but yeah, there are, and like I said, as owners, they can go in there, and some of them are pretty, if they catch you smoking, there's no smoking policies, and they kick you out early for smoking, and so there's some stuff that is pretty strict on that.
Anyone else? All right, I've got a few questions, I believe, for Mr. Foster. If they make any renovations or anything, I know it's stated that we would have to, the building official would have to get involved. As it sits right now, the fire marshal doesn't need to check to make sure. I just wonder, these older houses that are built in the 80s back there, are we sure that we've got the right means of egress and things like that? And is that in our purview, or is that something we don't need to worry about?
Chair Twait, I know there are certain types of uses that does require the fire marshal to do a site visit. And so those ones that come to mind are things like, bed and breakfast, at-home daycare, dormitories, boarding, houses, and so on. This one I can't recall. I don't recall whether the fire marshal inspects cabin rentals. I just can't recall off the top of my head.
Would we be opening a can of worms if we made a motion that we wanted the fire marshal to do that? Or again, maybe Mr. Bloom?
Thank you, Commissioner Twait. I don't know the answer to that either. I know that, the fire marshal on an annual basis tries to do an inspection on all commercial operations. I'm not quite sure how this would fall in. I would caution that the commission probably can't direct the fire marshal to do something, but if you wanted to request it, that would certainly be appropriate.
So maybe we've already done that without having to make a motion to add that condition, correct?
Yeah, I'll follow up with
Okay.
our fire marshal, and either myself or Ryan will get back to you as to whether they do inspect these type of facilities.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Dothett.
On that note, the mains, maybe they can answer real quick. You just purchased this in February, this property, correct? And I'm assuming you guys had a home inspection?
Yes, we did.
So it would have passed code and home inspection at that time in February, so. Okay, just for clarification, thank you.
Just a note on that, it was noted in the inspection that there was fire smoke alarms not in the bedrooms, and that was.
And that was going to be my one question, is that I know the code for fire alarms and stuff way different back then than they are now. So, okay, I think we got that handled. The next question I had is, and this I think we could do. Some of the testimony was concerned or believes that you're going to get some dip netters and short-term renters in there during that time of the season. Could we make a condition that we would like to see bear-proof garbage can if they have any outside garbage, if they're there for any length of time? That'd be a condition we could ask to put on.
Chair Twait, I do know we have the code. We do have a section of code, and this is for really any property in the city, as far as the requirements for properly storing trash or garbage in the city. Which does include that possibility of having, basically dumpsters or secure garbage cans. What I would say is, I don't. Yeah, and so I would say on the one hand that there is a code that already exists, and it's for beyond just conditional use permits, that is about the management of trash on a residential, property, commercial properties. So I do think the code would really take care of that. But as far as to add it as a condition, that to be specific bear-proof garbage cans, I suppose the commission could.
I threw it out there if somebody wants to touch that. And then the last thing that I was wondering about is we don't have any conditions as far as having the quiet time and some of those things posted in the building. And I think if it's posted there, that they see it when they walk in, if they come at 2 o'clock in the morning and aren't aware and aren't told by the homeowner, I think it would be easy enough to have those posted for them.
I guess I could make a amendment for a condition of that the regulations for quiet hours and
house rules
is be clearly posted in the facility as a part of their application, or it's part of the application. It would be clearly posted in the facility. So house rules be clearly posted within the facility. I'm sure they are in this case, but just so in further cases, we can make sure that's a rule. That would be, I look at it as enforceability. We could also do a tour and say if they are or not. I think in enforceability, that could be a fairly easy one to say that's not there. So I like that idea. I'm just thinking of future ones. I'm sure in this case, it will be boldly
Handled.
noted.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Halsted,
Yes.
Chair Tweet,
Yes.
Vice Chair Doffett,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fikes,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, main motion as amended. Any other discussion or amendments? Seeing none, please call the roll. Oh, hang on.
sorry.
Commissioner Dothett.
For the vote on this?
What's that?
We want to vote now? Is that what I'm?
Yeah, you ready?
Yes, I would just like to say that as far as this particular unit goes, I think my vote's going to be a yes on this, based on the facts that I think as far as a landlord and a tenant in this situation, or landlord in this area, you're not going to find a stricter one that's going to keep a track on it as far as being able to manage a property appropriately and make sure it's done appropriately. I think this is a good starting point, and the individual in question, as everybody has already testified to, does a good job on their current rentals. I know concerns about that neighborhood. I was born and raised in that neighborhood. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood. I went to high school, and I remember, all that kind of things. And unfortunately, that neighborhood has had its troubles and troils, and it's slowly gone down and down and down and down over the years. I would say that with this, the only thing I can hope is that Airbnb, VBR, bed and breakfast type things might be a good thing, because in the winter it's probably going to be pretty quiet. It might be mostly empty. You're not going to have the year-round people, and most people vacation rentals. I live in Kenai now too. I've been directly next door on two sides of me with homes that have been VBROs, Airbnbs for the last couple years. There's been a handful of times where there's been a couple of people that kind of got a little rambunctious, but 99% of the time it's been pretty low-key. People come and go, and we haven't really had any issues. And I hope to see that this would be one of those. I think there's a lot more Airbnb type stuff in the city that people don't even realize is going on. And I think this one is going to, hopefully we can move forward, and as we do more and more of these, we're setting stricter and stronger stipulations, so for enforceability it's getting better. We are working forward to hopefully making it a more streamlined process and making it harder to have bad consequences come from these. So I would be, in this situation, I think it meets all the standards, and I think I will be voting in favor of it.
Commissioner Fikes.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Douthat. I think it's been some robust discussion and some eye-opening thought on a lot of things that are taking place, and I do absolutely agree with a lot of your concerns, and I have read up on some of the VRBOs as well. I do have one in my neighborhood, and I've been blessed. I haven't had any issues. I haven't heard any of those noise complaints. But on that note, like I say, I do believe they've met all the conditions, and I would hope that some of the additional stipulations and some of the topics of discussion that you folks have brought up moving forward as we get further down the road in these applications, that we can have some of this discussion brought back to our work sessions, and we can bring some of this stuff forward to the council that actually makes the adjustment to code. And so it gives us as a commission some teeth to go after these when we hear constantly over and over that nobody's listening to us, nobody's listening to the noise, nobody's responding. So each time that residents come in and they testify and they tell us about these, it gives us one more opportunity to try and improve on it. And so with the experience that these folks have testified, and even as the testimony is shared, that they have some experience and they have had some positive results in their rentals, and that I would like to extend that opportunity as it's written into the comp plan to be able to use their property as an investment. So for those reasons stated, I think this would be a good example of a positive thing, I would hope, but there are mechanisms in there that we have put in place that we can actually enforce, hopefully, if there isn't. And I do strongly encourage you to strongly encourage you guys to come forward to the planning department. So in addition to law enforcement, some people don't realize that that's a tool out there that you can use. So we actually welcome everybody coming in, and I'm grateful for your guys' testimony. Thank you.
Commissioner Greenberg.
Yeah, I agree with the other commissioners. I think that some of the permits we've had issues with in the past have been because of management. And from what we've heard some concerns, but what I've heard mostly is that there's been a great character support for our managers here, that they can really handle this type of thing. And that's really shown that most of the permits where we have good managers, so we don't really get those complaints, you know. So having good managers in these particular issues means they're responsive, and they seem to be very responsive. I will be voting in favor of this permit.
All right. Anyone else? Commissioner Halstead.
Just one more. I know we haven't stated it yet, but I know in a hopefully soon coming work session that is a public event. If other people have other ideas that they want to present at a work session, I know this group in particular, Mr. Twait would love to have come represent again, because you've had great things to say, and you know, I definitely don't want to ignore your concerns, but you know, I think it was said before that just because we approve this one does not mean we're going to approve the next one, and we definitely take that very seriously.
And I will kind of follow up on that, is that I believe that discussion is going to happen tonight as far as when we're going to set that work session. So if you stick around a little bit, we can give you dates and times probably when we'll actually do that. So, and I'll just follow up and say that I do think that these people from your guys' testimony seem like they're the right people that might help the situation get better. I think you guys seem like you're on the right track to get better over there. I used to have a friend that lived down there a long time ago, and I haven't been back that way for a while, but back then it was a nice, yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned these guys back in the 80s when I was a baby carpenter. I built a lot of those houses back in there, but way back in the day. So so don't complain if you don't like your house. That wasn't a house, but it is a great community, and it's got obviously people that care about it, and I think that's important. And the beauty of it is too is that with this conditional use in place, that the spotlight's on them a little bit, so they have to perform and they have to be able to follow the rules. If they don't, we'll be back here discussing it. And so, like I said, I'll be in favor of it. I appreciate everybody's testimony, and it's nice to get the people to come in and actually testify instead of complain after the fact. So I really do appreciate that. With that, if anyone else has anything to say, we're good. We will call the roll, please, for the main motion as amended.
Chair Tweet,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dothett,
Yes.
Commissioner Woodard,
Yes.
Commissioner Greenberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Fikes,
Yes.
Commissioner Halstead.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and there is a 15-day appeal period that an affected party can file with the clerk's office. If none are filed after those 15 days, your conditional use permit will be granted. And again, I'd like to thank everybody. We try to have fun and work at the same time, so I appreciate all that. And again, there is a spot down here for additional public comment after we get a little farther down if you want to add anything else a little bit anyway. We have nothing under pending items. We have J reports, J1 City Council. Vice Mayor Glendenning.
Thank you, Chairman Twait. On April 20th, the City Council met in these chambers at 6 p.m. We had scheduled public comments. Dog Park Friends gave a very thorough and informative presentation on their design and intent and view of the dog park, and it was well received. Public hearings, we enacted unanimously to accept a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration, response and relief Appropriation Act appropriating funds to a special revenue fund. We enacted unanimously increasing estimated revenues and appropriations in the Airport Special Service and Airport Improvements Capital Projects Fund and authorizing a professional service agreement amendment to complete design phase services for the Kenai Municipal Airport Runway Rehabilitation Project. We enacted an ordinance accepting and appropriating a State of Alaska grant passed through the Southern Region EMS Council for 3 scoop stretchers, 3 adult vacuum splints, and 3 pediatric vacuum splints for our EMTs. We enacted an ordinance accepting and appropriating a volunteer fire assistance grant from the United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service for firefighting equipment. This is for our local city fire fighters to have adequate equipment to battle any woodland forest fires that could happen in our community. As you know, if you live here, you see we have quite a bit of wooded area here. We enacted an ordinance accepting and appropriating an American Rescue Plan grant passed through the State of Alaska Department of Health and Social Services for Kenai Senior Center expenditures in support of its response to the COVID-19 public health emergency. We enacted an ordinance increasing revenues and appropriations in the Water and Sewer Special Revenue Fund and Wastewater Treatment Plant Improvement Capital Project Fund to provide supplemental funding for the sludge press replacement project. This is an ongoing concern of the city as expressed through the Public Works Department, focusing on our wastewater treatment plant. The plant was put in some years ago, over 40 years ago. It was well designed, but it needs help now. Things can be improved as far as efficiencies using power, using electricity, and also as equipment wears out, there's a new and more adaptive technology available that will enable efficiencies in our operation. We authorize the city manager to execute an amendment to the City of Kenai's participation agreement with the Public Employees Retirement System to remove the project or employee category. What we did is this allows us to, as we have special projects such as the bluff erosion, or if we have a concentrated construction initiative, say for a period over half a year, say at the wastewater treatment plant or else other places in the city, we can hire someone to work as a per diem employee. They can work as a contract employee, however you style it, to be with us for a defined point of time, and then when the project is over, then they move on to whatever life brings them. And this is a technical resolution, but it helps us, how can we say, manage our employee retirement system, the PERS system, so we don't have unanticipated expenses. We adopted a resolution awarding a construction contract for the award of a Mission Avenue Water Main Improvement Project. What this is along the bluff, there's Mission Avenue, and the bluff is eroding and exposing the water main. So what we're going to do is place block valves and allow this water main to be repaired, stabilized, and not allow it to just collapse into the water and have a inappropriate and inappropriate leak of polished water from our city. This is very easily done. It'll be done this season, and thanks to our Public Works Department for being on top of this. We adopted a resolution appropriating Fifth Amendment to the city airline operating agreement to reduce certain insurance requirements for operators. What we found is that if there's a plane that has 9 passengers or less, we had required a certain threshold of insurance per seat, and that's not offered anymore. So with consulting airline experts, insurance companies, and the regulators, we amended our requirements for insurance requirements for the operators. And then last but not least, we adopted a resolution authorizing the use of additional land for Dobbins Beck Family Park for expansion of the dog park. This is going to be a wonderful addition to our community. People love their dogs. We have an area that's over by the Beacon Building that's set aside approximately 2 acres, and it will allow for dogs to run free. There's areas for big dogs, little dogs. We anticipate putting exercise equipment in. There'll be like a gazebo that will be a way to receive owners and their dogs. And I think it'll be a very, very positive addition to our community. And what we approved, a action approval item to consent the assignment and assumption of a lease agreement in Gusty subdivision amended to Forever Business Plaza LLC. And where this is located is the old car wash that's over by the cleaners. And what they intend to do is the businesses that are there will remain, and then they will expand and upgrade the building that's there for further business opportunities. Then also we have a action approval special use permit for Laser Art LLC for a 4-month term, May 1st through August 31st of 22. And what this is, they're going to have a little booth, a little kiosk in the airport terminal to sell their wares. And this is a business experiment on their part, but it seemed like it was well received by the airport commission, and we definitely welcome a business that will purvey art and cater to the tourists that come to our area that perhaps want something with an Alaska theme. And then finally, we scheduled a budget work session, and this is for, I believe it's a Saturday, May the 14th, and that will be a presentation by all department heads, those that have a demand on our budget, and they will explain their theme and theory of what they're doing with their money, how they intend to spend it, and most importantly, the benefit to the citizens of this town. We had an executive session discussing the possible sale of Parkview subdivision, Tract A, Kenai Peninsula Borough Parcel, hashtag 04701018. And this was, again, discussing the donation or sale of this property. And it was an executive session because it was a matter of which the immediate knowledge may have an adverse effect on the finances of the city. And having said that, that concludes my report, other than to say I am well pleased with tonight's discussion. It was thorough. You folks were very patient with each other. The audience responded well to the whiplashing, and I think it was a good exercise in civic responsibility, and thank you for showing up. Thank you. And thank you for presenting a good project, my viewpoint. And that ends my report. Thank you.
Any questions? 2, you did a very good report, but future, there is, what day is that waterfront revitalization?
I believe it is, it's not here. I believe it's scheduled for, is it Monday and Tuesday coming up, which would be May the 2nd and 3rd?
I believe you're right.
Okay, and I believe the one on the 2nd is like in the evening, and it's it's a work session. Sometimes they look like presentations, and then the following day, I believe it's scheduled for all day for a thorough discussion of the theme and theories that are being revealed there. It's not the final presentation, but it'll be pretty dispositive as to what they're thinking and what to look at. I urge everybody to attend if they can, and there will be a report given, of course.
Beautiful. And just to follow up on that laser art business, I watched the meeting last week, and it's good for your soul to see young 18-year-old kids that want to go for it and do something good. It kind of reinvigorated my faith in the youngsters again, so that's a good thing. So
yeah, it was a very, very thorough presentation. They seemed like they had their business plan together. They had a source for their items and are willing to see what the future brings them for their business opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, J2 Borough Planning, Commissioner Fikes.
Alrighty, we started off our meeting on Monday by welcoming in a new commissioner from Soldotna. And then we heard the resignation of our vice chair, Ruffner, only to be congratulated as he steps up and accepts the planning director position from the borough. So we are now looking for a vice chair. And we reviewed and accepted 2 plats. And then we went on to our new business, was a hearing, which we had before us here in Kenai on March 23rd, was for a right-of-way vacation on the Van Torp area. There's some storage units over there, industrial over by Cigna. The owner wanted to expand their area, so they needed to clean it up by getting the right-of-way vacation. We approved it, as did the borough. And then that brought us to our final hearing of the night. Excuse me, was a ordinance for amending a local option zoning district. There was the land sale that takes place by the borough, offering up land at reduced prices or reasonable prices, if you will. And so this petitioner, Trimark Earth Reserves, had purchased the property, but there was a local option zoning, and so that was going to be a condition for their material extraction not being able to move forward. So there was nobody in objection to the removal of that, so we went ahead and voted on it and approved to remove it, and so we'll probably be seeing that again in the following month or so for a petition for a material extraction, which there was already pointed out 7 in the area, so it was kind of a unanimous decision that that would be kind of an ideal location. So that was kind of a welcoming thing to hear, because that's kind of the common theme at the borough right now, is these material gravel pits. So it was kind of happy to hear that there was an area that would be okay that didn't really back up to neighborhoods. So it was kind of a win-win deal. And that wrapped up our evening.
All right, any questions? All right, J3, City Administration, Mr. Foster.
Thank you, Chair Twait. I do have a few items of note. One, I did want to discuss the idea that was brought up at the end of the last meeting, and that was about a work session for a conditional use permit. And so I was hoping what we could discuss is putting together a goal or an agenda for that work session, as well as picking a date and time for that. And so I do have more items than that, but I'll open it up for the discussion on the work session.
All right. And do we want to pick an agenda first, or how do we want to go about doing that? Does it matter? Pick a day, and then and we and
Our next meeting is the 11th.
and so, Mr. Bloom, are you planning on attending that work session too? So, is there a time that are you wide open as far as dates go at this point? Okay.
Want to do it before May? Is it a heavy calendar or is it a light calendar? Do you know?
Let's see. We do have two items. On May 11th, we have a conditional use permit application as well as a lease renewal application. Those are the two items we have.
Let's try to do it before that then, if we can, just so we've,
And what, I know we've had sometimes we've started at 5:30 or 6. I don't know.
I can.
I'll be late, sorry, I won't try.
Yeah, I see how that works, yeah. I'll miss half of it, it'll start at 5.
Yeah. 6:05.
What do we, so do we think it's gonna take a couple hours? If we can do it in a couple hours or less, I would say let's start at 6.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while because it is a very hot topic, and we have a lot that we should probably cover in it as far as dividing, and I could even see it spilling over potentially.
So we just need to know Yeah, and so we just need to know what days this room is full, so we can't make that work, and I think any other time.
We get a lot accomplished.
Go ahead, yeah, chime in, please.
I was just saying, through the chair, I think we could do it before the meeting on May 11th.
That gives you an hour and a half.
To do it beforehand and then we can extend, or do you want to do it on a whole different date? Are we looking at a whole different date, is that what you're thinking? A whole different date from the 11th?
I would think that,
Topics for the 11th are going to be cups, that was what I was thinking.
yeah, but we're also going to run, that meeting's going to run late as well. So do we want to get here really early and stay extra late? I mean, I need a bigger candy dish, that's for damn sure, right?
You're gonna feed us, right?
Exactly.
So look at the schedule though, the sports show is Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That's the 5th, 6th, and 7th?
Yeah, the 5th, 6th, and 7th, so I'm just saying, I'm just looking at timing.
So we'd either do it on the 3rd or we do it on the 11th. 3rd is the all-day waterfront day, yeah, you're right, yep. Well, we'll roll up our sleeves and hammer away, start at 5 on.
Because we can get into it.
Those
and
are,
we can
yeah,
always come
we can't get in there then.
Let's just at least get a start, we'll do like
Yeah.
5:30, get a start, and we'll say, then we can cut it off at the meeting.
Yeah.
And we can
Okay.
say, we'll take it up on another, we can always do the next meeting, do another one if we need to.
Yep.
I say at least get this, that's just a crazy time of year, so.
Okay, so the 11th at 5 o'clock.
What?
5:30.
Wait.
5:30?
Back it off.
Oh, okay.
5:30.
5:30. 5:30.
I'm already gonna be late, so let's not
Okay.
make it really late.
How much
All right.
public notice do we give on those work sessions? I mean, is it just kind of, it's discussed in the meeting here, and that's how the public knows about it, or do we announce it? It hits the
Mr.
paper?
Foster?
Through the chair, Commissioner Halsted, we would put it on the ad for the May 11th meeting, along with the agenda items.
I'm, because we get so much, I'd love more input from and I could be shooting us in the foot, but the input from the previous meeting, that group of people that showed up I'd love for them to know us. Okay, I don't know if we personally let them know, but it just, it'd be good to get as much public input as possible on this particular item.
That's a question, yeah. Okay, so 11th, 5:30, we'll do what we can. If we gotta have another one, we will. Okay. Additional items you have to talk about.
What would be
agenda.
helpful? Yeah, it would be helpful whether it's like a goal, agenda, specific.
Commissioner Greenberg.
I think, if we did some kind of brainstorming for solutions for permits that are existing that seem to be kind of repeat offenders, in what they're doing.
We can't really go back on what they're doing right now. That'd be tough to. I think it needs to be more of, like you were talking about, future conditions that we can make as more like, we already got basically like the time one on there. 10 to 6 is a time. Like maybe we can come up with some brainstorm on some solid set in stone, these are gonna be generic conditions we set in place.
Yeah, I would think kind of like a boilerplate template that Mr. Foster could work off of.
Work on the definitions too, because we got an expansive definition.
Yeah, I think like short-term rentals or the VRBO type situation that we're dealing with here, I like the conditional use permits as far as it pertains to guide services. I think should almost be kind of its own little special deal that's gonna probably take up the night in and of itself. But yeah, kind of setting preset
Like we do with the time right now, like
conditions.
that's one we set.
Yep.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, and
Definitions and control for permits, does that help? Control or enforcement?
I know enforcement's a huge one, but I don't know if that's a lot that we can do on our end of it, but we can at least have discussions.
Just understand the existing control
Yeah,
we have.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see something on enforcement, but I don't even know how we would get started on that
Yeah.
portion of
That's
it.
gonna be something where if we do anything about enforcement, I think we need to have the chief of police and the attorney present, because I think both those departments need to be on the enforcement.
To have some kind of feedback. Bloom had been in there in the past, so he's been helpful, I don't.
And that's why he was here tonight mostly, he's gonna be there, so.
Or a sergeant or whoever,
Yeah.
a representative for the police department, I think should be available so we can, when we're saying we need to enforce this stuff, we need to have.
And then you hear
who's-
it's not,
who's-
so yeah, what are we doing to alter or change that so that it's got teeth when somebody.
Turn your microphone on if you're talking.
Alrighty then.
It's my job.
It's on.
Yep. Okay, so that gives us a little bit, and I'm sure it'll turn into a whole bunch more from there, so if that works, let's wrap that up and move along.
Okay, I already noted, May 11th, we also have a conditional use permit application and a lease renewal application. And I did want to note the waterfront project at the Visitor Center, May 2nd, that's 5:30 to 7:30. There's going to be discussion of the results from the previous work session that evening, and then the full day, public open house, studio. I think the understanding is that not everybody will be able to stay the entire time, but if you're able to attend and provide some input and kind of drop in and spend a little bit of time, that would be excellent if people are able to do that. So that's also at the Visitor Center, May 3rd. It's a public open studio from 8 to 5 p.m. and then from 7 to 8 p.m. also at the Visitor Center will be a review of the day's concepts, all those ideas that folks might be, hopefully bringing to that meeting and putting out there and having that collected. There will be a preliminary kind of review of all these concepts from that day. And that is everything I have.
Any questions? Okay, that is K, additional public comments. Anyone wishing to come forward, you get 5 minutes, I believe. I don't know why it's 5, but it's 5 minutes. So if you could, and again, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Jeannie Van Gorder, 315 Portlock Street. My concern is, and I'm not going to turn around, we would like numbers, whoever's going to greet the people coming there, so as neighbors, if they aren't there, or if there is a problem, we can call that representative and say, hey, we're not putting up with it. Secondly, I don't want to be a babysitter. I didn't have kids for a reason. I don't want to tell people how to act. I don't want to tell people to turn down the music. I don't want to tell people to not boom, boom, boom through the neighborhood.
We already went through this.
It's incredibly annoying as a grown-up to tell somebody how to behave. It's annoying. That is my 2 cents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fair game. Anybody else? Yep, you sure can.
My 60-year-old grandma body that's just about giving out for the day
Mhm.
is heading up the podium.
Number one, Jeannie, I don't need you as a babysitter.
Name and address for the record.
Cheryl D. Wilson, Maine, 207 Walker Lane. I don't need a babysitter.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And number two, we discussed that we'll take care of it to the best of our ability, God first and then us. But no, I'm not hiring you for a babysitter.
Thank you. Okay. I'll get that gavel out. Anyone else?
It's getting late and testy.
Ashley Bauman, 312 Portlock Street. So this is in general, not towards this issue, but towards the neighborhood issue. Going forward, obviously, Ryan, it sounds like you're the guy that we should be calling, only because we are not getting the help that we need from the police department. And I know, I do know there's laws, right? And so it's like when you call the police department, what they say is, like, they can't do anything about it, you know? I think it's frustrating as a citizen to, one, I kind of understand how laws are written and how we get laws to move forward, but I think general knowledge as a community that people do not understand that. And so there's a lack of information. There's like a breakdown where it's not getting passed along of like, this is how laws are set, you know? I mean, when you go to our community elections, most people in the community do not show up. I remember the last one I went to, they were like so excited because I was the 300th person, you know, and they didn't think they would hit that number, you know. So I just think as far as like how this stuff is getting out here, I mean, I've been dealing with Neighborhood Watch, calling Grimm, calling the police department, and no one has ever said, hey, did you know you should probably be calling Ryan Foster? Like, why are you calling the police department? There's a very... the breakdown does not happen, and there's not a lot of public knowledge of what goes on or how we need to be taking care of these issues, because it is frustrating. I know we talked about 5-star owning a house. It's not 5 Stars rental. The guy that owns 5-star owns a house in our neighborhood, and it is one of the worst houses. He rents to his own family. Along with Luke from 5-star. He owns a house in our neighborhood, and it is the absolute worst house in the neighborhood. You know, I mean, he had somebody commit suicide in the front yard. So when somebody had mentioned that they had to pick up brains out of the front yard, it was literally they had to pick up somebody's brains out of the front yard. They had to watch it happen. This is the kind of rental problems that we are suffering. So when we come and we're frustrated, we are frustrated.
Everybody quiet, please. I will whip this gavel out and start smashing it. Let's go. Let's just be.
We are coming from a place of, we are like frustrated with the way that things have gone, and I'm not saying it's you, but I'm just saying the breakdown of how we need to be handling things. Like, we are not in the know of how to deal with this. Like, we've never been told you guys should call Ryan with a noise complaint. We have never been told with the trash, with the broken down cars, with the never been told. And so that is kind of, you know, it's enlightening. I'm glad that we came. I'm glad that they decided to do this, that we were, you know, able to come and witness this. But I think general, you know, for the entire community, I don't think a lot of people know this information. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Well,
I just would.
oh, no,
I was going to comment back to you, Ashley, on that. As far as communicating to the public, I, as a resident in my own neighborhood, I didn't learn this until a couple years into it, that my neighbors were constantly complaining about a triplex that didn't have a lid on their trash, that was constantly blowing it everywhere. I was naive to the fact, like, gosh, why is my street always the dirtiest street? And then my neighbor's like, well, that's because the morons over there don't. And then when I came onto the commission, then I learned that there was codes that you had to complain, and you had to keep complaining, and then also the triplex is supposed to have screening on sides. And so these are things moving forward that if you don't know, or you don't come and testify, or you don't see it in the paper, you might not have that exposure to the information. So that's great feedback.
Angela Nicely, 324 Portlock. Concerning the junk cars and things like that, I called the city, and I was told they could stack them as high as they wanted to. And you should see the house next door to me now. That's what I was told. So we call, and we don't get anywhere. And this is where my emotions are coming from. It's frustrating. This is not like it just happened last night. These are things we've been dealing with for years, watching our neighborhood go down. And we're trying so hard to build it back up. And we need help. Somebody needs to get on board. Your mom's house is condemned, the old one that you were raised in. It was a drug house, sex trafficking. This is what Portlock Street looks like now. And we're fighting it, and we're fighting hard, and we got zero tolerance. And she's talking about being mean. We get mean. Portlock police right here, man, I'm telling you. We don't have neighborhood watch. We patrol. And we don't let anybody get away with anything, because once you do, they walk all over you. I mean, it's been hell living there lately, the last, 5 years? It's gotten bad.
Longer than that.
Yeah, it's been longer than that, but it has really gotten bad in the last 5 years. And, and the brains, yeah, I had to witness that. I never in my life should have had to. Don't want to do it again. But this is real. I mean, I'm a lifelong Alaskan. We're all lifelong Alaskans. We've seen some changes in our communities, and we're not liking it. There has to be some change, and we all need to get on board and listen to each other and at least try to make some changes. The police can only do so much, and they come when we call. I mean, I haven't had any problem with that. I mean, they do come, but then they're right back to it again. So, but our neighborhood went down fast, and every other house is a rental now, and we have less rights than they do, and our property values are going down because of it, and it's not fair. So anyway, that's all I got to say.
Well, I do appreciate it, and like I said, I know everyone up here cares about that kind of comment, and I know we would be happy to get involved and do what we can do to speed it up and get back on track a little bit.
If
So
there were some laws, the state of Alaska needs a little extra money, right? Well, I'll go put tickets on people's cars parked in the middle of the road all winter long. You don't even have to pay me. I'll be more than happy to do it. Whatever we got to do, and the junk. People should have to clean up their yard. We shouldn't have to look at that. I'll show you a picture of my neighbor's yard. I was looking at junk cars here, junk cars there, and then these people parked their van right on the side of the house, and we're close. We are in close quarters over there. And so I didn't have nothing to look at but junk cars all around me. And I told them, look out your window, what do you see?
Trash at the fireplace.
They're looking at my house, and I'm going, they're looking at my house.
I don't.
It's not that bad. But we try.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Take a second. Can I make a suggestion?
Well, hey, hold on just one second. Anyone else over here? You did already talk, didn't you? Okay, really quick, because it's
I know, everyone's tired.
absolutely,
I'm getting
and
really tired
and
of testing
we
it.
don't even want you to talk
One
to
of my
you.
suggestions is this.
Well-
Pat Porter, when she was the mayor, she's a personal friend of mine, Pat Porter. She would drive through our neighborhood and kick butt. She would tell people literally, clean this up, clean that up. And she had people in our neighborhood up in arms. But when she was in charge, seriously, the neighborhood was looking better. It was. So what I suggest is this. I suggest that every one of you up here take a drive through Central Heights and just look at it through our eyes, because it is the roughest neighborhood in the area, in the whole, I don't know, whatever. I'm tired, my brain is shutting down. Take a drive through, and especially drive through Sterling. When you go down Turn, take a right down Sterling, you're gonna see a house, and it's actually Rose. I love Rose. She has fetal alcohol syndrome. Her husband is Lauren, he has Alzheimer's. But their house will blow you away. Should never be allowed. So I would suggest that every one of you, because this is our city, drive through our neighborhood, and then let's meet again. There's no exaggeration. These people There's not. And as far as the chief, I said I'm going to Commissioner of Safety, I am. There has to be, I mean, I'm done because we're all tired.
Okay.
We're all
We
friends,
are.
we're all tired. Thanks for listening.
Absolutely, thank you.
Just real quick, I did, as part of the research, drive through your neighborhood, and you must be onto something, because I tell you, I was followed by a trooper. I picked him up until I turned off by AIH. I was like, this is kind of unusual, but he's following me through the whole thing.
Okay, we're gonna move along here. We have no informational items. Our next meeting is on the 11th. Commissioners' comments and questions? Commissioner Woodard?
Whoa. I might encourage all of you to try and get on a commission of some sort and help make a difference. That's it.
Commissioner Halstead?
I just appreciate this commission, and it's great fighting with Alex over topics, and it's just being able to debate and get things done. I think this is a great group, and we're moving, I think, definitely in the right direction. So thank you, everyone.
Commissioner Greenberg?
It's been a good, lively discussion.
Amen.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Fikes?
No, I just echo the same sentiments. We may not always agree, but we are always civil, so for that, I'm very appreciative.
Vice Chair Dothett?
I'd just like to say thanks for everybody that came up. And I know exactly what you're going through in that subdivision. 10 years ago, it was the same thing. It was getting worse back then. It's just gotten worse. My mother recently purchased a house about 3 or 4 years ago in that subdivision. It's a rental home. My eccentric aunt is now living there. But we won't go into that. But it has been a problem in the neighborhood, and it's getting worse. It needs to. The house is very clean. Yes, I'd put my mother as a landlord with Cheryl anytime. They're very similar. But I hear you guys' concerns, and I know it's an ongoing issue, and hopefully we can try to address some of these things and maybe start citing some of these vehicles and stuff like that. I think it really needs to be an ongoing issue. Even the police department has known for years that is a bad spot. So, yeah. Yeah. So I appreciate you guys coming, and I just want to know that we do hear you, and we will do what we can.
Vice Mayor Glenn Denning?
Yeah, just a quick shout out. I have a pamphlet or two regarding the theme and theory, design intent of the dog park. If someone, I have 2 of them here. You're welcome to them if you would like. Sure.
And I am done.
That's the
Meeting
only
is
2 I have,
complete.
if
Thank
want to
you.
pass them out.
Hey, Alex, it was your eccentric aunt at our house.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's not eccentric.
No.
Really. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a good meeting.